Hello! Welcome back
Whoa.
to our podcast, 俺たちの漫言はこれからだ, or short, Orekara, where we talk about all of the chapters in Weekly Shonen Jump that we've read. We're not reading everything, but we will give a ranking and rating for all of the series that we do read, because we pretend that we're filling out the questionnaire where we can potentially win a Nintendo 64. Another one. I got
How many
mine
do you
in
have
the mail.
now? You've won so many times.
Last week I got one. The week before I got one. I'm to 3 now. Could use some more. These are,
Keep
these
them
are
coming.
very rare collector's items now, right? There's not many
Yeah.
original N64s out there.
Yeah.
So,
Still
anyways,
waiting for the mini.
that would be such a good idea. When will Nintendo learn from
Some Christmas.
us who give it the best ideas? My name is Maxi Hamburger, and to my right? No, wait, my left, your right. That's Percival Fine.
It's me. Yeah, and we're on issue 39. This is our episode, 30, right?
I thought I was more.
Is it? Okay.
I think didn't we start last year?
Yeah, but we weren't numbering things back then. So this is episode 30, but we are on issue 39 of this of Weekly Shonen Jump for 2022. And yeah, on the cover, starting out
Undead
with
Unluck, the one
which
series we don't read.
Still not reading. That's right.
Wait, no, that's not true. We're also not reading Mashle, which also gets a colored page, and Mission Yozakura Family, which does it get a colored page? Maybe not. That would be a huge coinky-dink. We're also not reading High School Family, but it's worth mentioning that on hiatus is Hunter x Hunter.
Still, yeah.
And I forgot to mention last time, Ruridragon is also on hiatus.
That's right.
Mustn't forget about Ruridragon.
I know.
We had such high hopes, and now it's all like it's quasi-cancelled.
It's just references in Roboco now.
That's its claim to fame.
Just like Hunter x Hunter. Its claim to fame is being referenced in Roboco.
How do you call it when you're a celebrity, like an actor or a musician, and you get on the train track where you put all of the trains that aren't used anymore, just like you, the unused celebrity?
What? Oh no.
There's a German word for it. It's called Abstellgleis, but maybe that's not the same.
In English, they say being put out to pasture, because it's for horses that are too old to work, but you like them, so you're not going to turn them into glue. You put them out to pasture, so they're not being used anymore. They're just out there somewhere.
That's also what you do to the dog, who clearly is still alive, but the child doesn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, just like Gincho. Your dog is learning to fight on a farm.
Oh, but this time her Ginchio's suffering has come to an end.
That's right. Yeah, let's all pour one out for Gincho. But first, is there anything you want to say about this cover?
Nope.
I got nothing. So let's go into One Piece.
Undead Unluck, so
first,
let's not
manga.
Look at it too much.
It's
first
One Piece.
Manga.
Yeah. Chapter 1058, New Emperors. So I think last week we were both like, man, nothing's happening. This week, things do happen.
Yes, this is the chapter that I was expecting last week. This is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah,
got everything I wanted.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah, so first off, we get all of the main crew looking over their new bounties.
It's kind of like when
Did you clip out the picture reintroducing Luffy this chapter?
Nah.
Okay, that was funny.
This chapter kind of feels like it's the first episode after a seasonal break, where they have to reintroduce everybody to the new readers. After all of the filler, just like, hey, remember these guys? This is who they are. And maybe they got a new anime intro just like 10 seconds before this scene happens. This is clearly geared towards that kind of
Yeah. From looking at the first page with the chapter title, I was like, oh yes, they're finally off to sea. I'm really excited to see if we're gonna see Shanks or Blackbeard, or maybe what that cross alliance thing with Buggy is all about.
Yes, the cross guild.
And yes, we were
Lo and
delivered
behold, that's
the
what's
cross guild.
happening.
Yeah, so after the bounties, basically the entire chapter is just cross guild stuff.
Yes, it's so good.
Yeah, so we also see here that Zoro is kind of lording over Sanji because he's got a higher bounty than him. Chopper is still the lowest, but he's fine with it because he is the cotton candy lover after all.
Has
so
to
Robin
be
cheers him up.
reinforced. This isn't coming from nowhere. It's actually true.
It's true. All of it.
It's kind of interesting how Jinbei gets ranked way higher than Sanji, even though Sanji was revealed to be one of the super.
Yeah, he's related to the Vince Book family, which is like actually quite powerful.
Yeah,
it's just powerful, like didn't Luffy's go up when they discovered he's related to Dragon? And wasn't that
a thing? Didn't they always know that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess so. Because he actually uses his full name. But yeah,
right.
I also like when Luffy is in the cage that Nami put him.
Yeah, where he belongs.
That's how you see the Emperor, in a cage. Although I was wondering, like, so that kind of cage, that's what they used to hang people in, like as a punishment. And
yes, as seen in Dark Souls.
Yeah, crows would peck at your corpse until you're just skeletonized. Also, as seen in Pirates of the Caribbean. Because I think the last era that they did this to people to was in the 1800s when they were trying to get rid of pirates. That was one of the punishments for pirates. So I'm like,
that's where it all comes.
Nami got this thing that they used to execute pirates on her pirate ship.
To execute Luffy every once in a while.
Yeah, but he'll be fine. He can just stretch his arms out to get whatever food he wants.
Unless it's made of sea stone. I'm wondering if I should be happy or not that we didn't get to see how they landed after the big fall from the waterfall in Wano. Because on one hand, it's kind of like par for the course, where they always do this kind of thing at the end of some kind of
whatever. They escape.
It doesn't really matter. But like, maybe we should wonder how they did it.
It's all right. They just got a really strong ship. Another thing that I was wondering about is before we saw that when Usopp had his bounty redid, then it was with Sogeking. Do the Marines know that they're the same person at this point?
Probably.
They didn't show a Sogeking bounty.
Probably.
But it's like he never used that mask in Wano, did he?
No, he's never used it ever again.
Yeah.
The main thing that he's now famous for is that he freed all of the guys in Dressrosa, and that's why they call him God Usopp.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's kind of putting him in a very similar situation as Buggy, where a bunch of people think he's awesome, and he's kind of like...
He doesn't want it.
He doesn't want it.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's get to Buggy. All the Buggy stuff was
Buggy.
Because last week we were like, wait, how does he team up with those guys? Aren't they stronger than him? And yes, it's confirmed. They're both still way stronger than him. And they're like kind of threatening him the whole time.
They don't see him as a worthy leader. In fact, like everybody who's like, why would these guys follow him? Yeah. Like if you know these two guys, they don't, but it's nice to see how all of this came to happen. And it's basically just one giant coinciding misconception, and they're just now rolling with it.
Yeah,
I like the explanation. It was really nice seeing how both Crocodile and Mihawk are kind of like, what are we going to do now? And then they just accidentally slip into Buggy's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's also nice seeing that Galdino is back, Mr. 3.
He's back. Haven't seen him for a while.
He's such an asshole, but also seeing somebody like that pop up every now and then, I don't know, I feel like that
reminds
feels
you
kinda
of their existence. It reminds you of how big this world is and how many players are out there.
Yeah, and also
on
his
the chessboard.
Power. Last time we saw him, when they were breaking out of Impel Down, his power was surprisingly useful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of power is sort of... it would be extra useful in something like a jail, where you have to open lots of doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I almost completely forgot about Buggy's original crew. I do know that the lion is named
still got
Richie,
that lion with him.
But I completely forgot that the lion tamer, in the meantime, like last time we saw him, was already fat and kept eating just because they're so rich now that they don't really have to do anything else. Even Alvida is getting kind of sidelined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, well, all of those characters from the, what was it they started out in? East Blue, was it?
Yeah, I think that island was called... No, wait. I was about to say Syrup Island, but that is Usopp's island, I think.
Yeah,
Doesn't
but
really matter.
either way, it's just everyone from the first ocean they were on, before they were on the Grand Line, is just people who are introduced there, other than Shanks and the main crew, they're just way lower in power level than everyone else we've met since then. So it's fine for them to be sidelined, really.
Although until I would say maybe Water 7, where he introduced for the first time his Gear 5.
Yeah.
Gear 2nd.
5 is the newest one.
I think until that moment, you always had you could always explain it away as like, oh, they've always been on this extremely high level, and the guys they beat up, either they were just really weak and it wasn't really that much of a fight to begin with. It's mainly just like when you are in Dark Souls and you're already on an extremely high level, it's still annoying fighting the Bed of Chaos.
Right, yeah.
But technically you can tank and
you're not
everything else.
Going to die at it, but it still is, a bother to have to go through.
Because if you think
you have to hit everybody.
A bunch of the guys they beat along the way, like Arlong was supposed to be extremely powerful, right? Since he's a fishman and he used to be in Jinbei's crew, and he's Hody Jones' brother. Wait, is he his brother? I think he's his brother. Remember. They're related, and that they kind of wiped the floor with Hody Jones, but he was technically a late game boss, so it's like, how are these power levels together? But I kind of always liked how you could always explain that all of the major players, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji probably as well, kind of already were on an extremely high level, and every time they had problems, it was just like, we got a little bit unlucky, like maybe you got injured on the way, and right. Luffy got stuck, but all in all, everybody was kind of strong, even the opponents. Do you remember, for instance, in the Baratier arc, Don Krieg?
Yeah.
He had an armor that was...
He was pretty weak compared to everyone else, though.
Maybe he was extremely strong, we just thought he was weak. He had
because we've been hanging out with people who are super strong from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be. Anyway, power levels in One Piece, it's not really the sort of thing that I'm an expert in.
No, really. You also shouldn't think about it, because I think the fun of One Piece was always that you can always think about people's weaknesses. Like
because when you think about power levels in this, it's not like something like Dragon Ball where it's basically linear. Like everyone's using more or less the same kinds of abilities. In this, everyone's ability is like wildly different from each other. So you could be like, oh, maybe his pure strength is like really, really high, but maybe he doesn't have haki, or maybe the other guy has a devil fruit that could counter him, this or that. So there's lots of stuff.
I think in Dragon Ball, if we go backwards and come from the One Punch Man perspective, it basically everybody is Saitama, right? And the only difference is some of them are just even more Saitama than somebody else. And at that level, it's then just a numerical game, like who has the higher number. And I think that's what makes Dragon Ball bad. And that's also what a lot of people were scared about when in NES Lobby, the CP9 guys had one guy who was like, I can gauge your powers. Let me tell you the number. And everybody punched him. And he was like, oh, you have this number. And you have this number. And that was kind of like going into the direction that a lot of people hated, at least at the time when we were reading it. Got dropped immediately, thankfully.
Never seen that again. But still, even then, I don't really mind it because that's just your... Because, like I said, because there's so many abilities, special abilities in this beyond just how hard you can punch. That's like I don't mind as much if there's one guy who's like, oh yeah, I can gauge how hard you're punching. It's like, yeah, people do a lot of weird stuff in this that's, doesn't require pure punching strength.
But then eventually you'll get to a point where it's like two guys who are just going to punch each other. And at that point, then it'll be determined who has the higher number.
Yeah. But that seems kind of rare in this case. Anyway, another thing that
I don't want it. I don't want that.
Yeah, me neither. But in something like this, it doesn't matter as much. When I saw the Cross Guild hanging out together, one immediate thing I was wondering is where's Perona? I like seeing Perona hang out with Hawkeyes, because the last time we saw Hawkeyes was
she was living with him
with Perona and Zoro. And now I'm like, where's she? Yeah, because we see him back in his base, and when he gets the call from Crocodile. Yeah, like, come on, let's join together. But
we do get to see the mandrills in the back that Zoro used to train. We don't get to see Perona.
No Perona. Where is she?
Maybe she isn't she kind of prime real estate for one of those cover arcs?
Oh well, are we? He's still on Sanji's siblings right now, right?
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah. So maybe she'll be the next one.
Should have used Perona.
It should have been her.
It's not fair.
Because also now I'm like thinking about if they do encounter each other and the Straw Hat crew has to fight with the Cross Guild, it'd be kind of nice for Zoro to not just have his fight with Hawkeyes, but also see Perona again, because I mean, the three of them did live together for like 3 years.
Yes, they were a family.
Yeah. They were a family. So it would have been nice. But I have no clue where she is. Going on. We see more of the backstory of how how
the poster came
Buggy's
together,
crew just loves him so much.
It's unstoppable.
And he's like, no! I don't want this kind of love. You're putting me into harder situations. You trust me too much.
It's funny because sometimes the way Buggy reacts to when they were like confronting him about it, you could almost think like, maybe he's just lying about it because he really wanted them to become his underlings. But he really didn't want it.
Then you see the flashbacks. They're like, no, he didn't want it at all.
He hates it.
His subordinates were like, yeah, this is awesome.
You're the big guy, right? And these two guys,
I'll put you in the center. So you're the coolest. wow, we'll send it everywhere so everyone will know you're the coolest.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah, so then the other two decide, like, I guess it's fine. Let him be the center. So then if it ever becomes too much trouble, we can just give him up.
Yeah, I think that was the most reasonable way to deal with it. Like, how to explain how they settle with the situation of being made Buggy's underlings.
Yeah. In the eyes of the law, but they're like, we know that we're not actually underlings, so whatever.
It really fits very well.
Yeah. And so I was thinking from the beginning that we were going to get to see more of Shanks or Blackbeard this chapter because it's the new emperors. But the only emperors we get to see are the ones being really pathetic and beat up by their own crew.
Well, I mean, Shanks would be nice, but Blackbeard we've kind of seen a lot already, so we kind of
recently? We have not seen him recently.
Not recently.
We haven't seen Blackbeard for years.
That's true, but relatively recently.
It would be nice to see an update.
The last thing we saw him do was being on his party island and having Gecko Moria show up and be like, "Hey, Absalom, what are you doing here?" And then it wasn't Absalom, it was Catherine, what's her name? And then he got shanked in the back by Silio of the Rain, who now has the power of Absalom because they killed him.
Yeah.
That's the last we saw of Blackbeard's crew, and I think that's more than enough because we shouldn't know too much about them at this point in time.
Got to keep them mysterious until the actual big confrontation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. But we do see someone we haven't seen for a long time, and it's Dragon. And I was like, when he actually spoke, I was like, how often have we actually seen dragons speak? Because we've seen like
2 times, just a few times.
Yeah, usually when we see him, it's just kind of like, you know, his silhouette, like, oh, he's there. This is where the revolutionaries are. There's Dragon. This time he actually says something, saying that he.
What he says is very interesting. That even he doesn't know if Sabo really killed King Clover.
Yeah, that's right, and he hates it too.
He hates it.
If he actually killed him, there will be a reckoning between us because he's not into that. And everyone else is like, oh, we believe in Sabo.
Yeah, well, maybe we will find out what he has to say, because he's calling at the end of the chapter.
You think we're going to find out next week? I don't think we're going to see any more of this for a while.
No, let me have this. By the way, I really hate everybody in the Revolutionary Army. I hate the mink guy, the steampunk mink guy who's flying around. I hate the giant who can slip in and out of the ground. I also really dislike the flag girl on the left. Her power is that she can somehow raise everybody's spirits if she waves a flag or something.
Okay.
And Poryo Ivankov his proportions are it's such an eyesore. Koala is kind of okay, but also
I like Koala. She's cool.
I don't know. She's cool.
I think the one thing that I do kind of think is weird with the revolutionaries is that they all kind of have this steampunkish look.
Yeah, that's bad.
It doesn't really fit with the rest of the world. It's like when we first saw, I think the first time we got to see any revolutionary character for multiple pages was Sabo. And he's hanging out with Koala. And I thought that like the goggles were just like their thing. But it's actually all of the revolutionaries, which is weird because like Dragon doesn't dress like that at all.
Well,
so now like making the other characters kind of follow Sabo's fashion sense, then now makes the actual big boss look sort of out of place next to them.
Whatever. If Dragon opens his
coat, he's got like 10 goggles. He's like, I save these for when I'm ready.
No, worse, like all of the cog wheels, and he has multiple clocks on chains, and he's the ultimate steampunk. He's just not wearing the top hat with the goggles. That's the only thing he doesn't do.
Then speaking of kind of weird looking characters, we get Kuma at the end. Actually, wouldn't he be the one full of like cogwheels and stuff since he's a cyborg?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, now he's free from the Marines now. Here he is.
But he seems to have lost his self completely. Mm-hmm. I think that's the last thing that we knew about him, but also they weren't able to get it back, even now that they've saved him.
Yeah, he's still...
That was the deal he made. He, if you remember that, he made a deal that he fully becomes a machine, but in exchange for him protecting the Thousand Sunny for 2 years in the time skip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now they got him back, but he's still not really himself.
There's a lot more going on with Kuma, because he used to be, as far as I remember, a king of an island.
Him the Tyrant Bartholomew Kuma.
I think he got that name later on.
We never knew what that meant, did we?
We didn't, and I think we do know that he used to be a king, but also we don't know what his connection to Jewelry Bonnie was. Mm-hmm. Because she infiltrated the Levely in order to get to him. I don't know, is he her father, maybe? Could that be?
I'm like, I don't really remember enough about Kuma other than they used to call him the Tyrant, and all those robots are based on him. And he himself is a cyborg now.
It's actually also possible that she might be his mother, or even some other kind of ancestor, because she can just change her age.
Can she?
That's her devil fruit power. She can change anybody's age.
Oh. Okay. I must have been thinking about somebody else. I was thinking...
the big eating girl. She got captured by... We don't even know. One time we saw her getting captured by Blackbeard. Mm-hmm. And that didn't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah, because didn't earlier we saw... Because you mentioned Moria got shanked by Blackbeard's crew. Wasn't there also a chapter that was showing... Because we saw, what's his name, Hawkins teamed up with Kaido. Yeah. And then Kid and Law then temporarily teamed up with Luffy. And then I think there was one chapter where it was kind of showing what happened to the other, like, worst generation. Is that what they're calling them?
Yeah.
All of the newer pirate crews coming through with Luffy. And I think... the gangster guy and Jewelry Bonnie, there was like just one page that was just them getting owned by Blackbeard, wasn't it? Or am I thinking about...
No.
Thinking about somebody else?
I think that's just Bonnie, because Capone, Beige Capone, was in the Whole Cake arc. A major player even.
Oh yeah, because he married one of the daughters, didn't he?
Yeah. The one person you probably forgot, because most other characters from that age were present in the Wano arc in Kaido's crew. Mm-hmm. Basil Hawkins, D.S. Drake. Person you're forgetting, Apu even, yes, Scratchman Apu, and the one person you're forgetting is Uruj.
Oh yeah, the monk guy.
Yeah.
He
might have
what happened to him?
He might have a devil fruit power as well. We don't know. He I think the only parts where we got to see him in one of those, like, remember this guy scenes was like when he was kind of like beating up NPCs and going like, things are happening.
Yeah, that's right.
Very unspecific. Anyway, but we might see him next.
Maybe. Either way, I really like this chapter. It was
very
such
good.
A welcome return after last week's, like, nothing.
And it's talking about all of the cool stuff.
So much stuff is going on. How do you rate this one?
This was my favorite chapter in the whole issue. It's 86 points.
Ooh,
extremely high. I love this stuff.
Good chapter. Yeah, me too.
I love
it was great.
checking in on characters we haven't seen in a while, especially characters who are major players in the world and characters who I also really like. For instance, I love Crocodile. He's the best villain in, I would say, the whole series.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great enemy to have. Well, to read about. Yeah. Going on. Next manga.
It's Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen. Chapter 195, Sakurajima Colony, Part 5. So last week there was the fight with the three-way fight with Maki and Noritoshi fighting cursed version of Noya. And then at the end, just these two old nerds busted in and disrupted the whole thing.
Just and now
let's gonna find out. Let's find out what these two old guys are about. Katana
guy is way more interesting than the sumo guy. The katana guy completely steals the show in this chapter.
He does, yes.
It kind of feels like the sumo guy is just an afterthought.
He's barely in it. He's just there.
So the katana guy apparently is reborn. So he's not even like a normal person who happens to be.
He's one of the culling game people from the past, right?
Yeah, from the past.
Yeah, sorcerer from the past who was reborn. But somehow he didn't get younger. like Kashimo and what's his face? The hair, the guy who shoots stuff out of his hair. And the girl who can grab space. Yeah. So all of them are like young now, but this guy appears he's still an old man.
I mean, you caught up with all of the chapters in the meantime, so you should kind of know the rules to the game. I thought that this is my understanding. I might be wrong. That anybody who gets put into the game from the past.
Shit, my headphones just ran out of batteries.
Oh no.
Hold on, let me plug them in.
I thought Geto is just driving in a car and going to all of the cool dudes like, you look cool, get in. Right? And then he pops them out in the present day, and they don't get popped out the way they died in the past. They get popped out into some random dude who lives nowadays. So that's why this guy gets popped into some old guy. And Kashimo, I think, was popped into a woman. Because the gender was really ambiguous. Yeah. And we were pretty sure that it was a woman until
she. Until the flashback. And then we still kept saying she because we were just used to it.
So, because Kashimo used to be an old guy.
Yeah, in the flashback.
This isn't his
this guy doesn't have a flashback yet.
Yeah, this guy is just, he awakened and he's searching for katanas.
Yeah, it's like
because katanas are cool.
Kashimo got a flashback to like 200 years ago. This guy got a flashback to like
5
minutes ago. Or he long ago. This guy, we get a flashback to he spawns into the modern world and he just runs around screaming, katana!
He loves them.
Yeah, and he finds like a toy one, and
everybody was like, "Oh, it's a Demon Slayer reference!"
Yeah,
everybody was so hyped, and everybody was.
Imagine if instead of just a toy katana, if he grabbed Ruridragon's umbrella.
What happens then?
Yeah, exactly.
Somehow, because he can't see cursed energy and cursed stuff.
Right. He doesn't have it. He's like a good match to hang around with Maki.
Yeah, he doesn't have it, but somehow he draws out the energy of the sword, right? Right? So that's why when he picks up a toy sword, which seems to be a prop from Demon Slayer, then it just activates the Demon Slayer stuff. Is that the explanation, maybe? Because later on, he just stretches out his arm, and Maki's sword just flies into his hand, and he's like, "Yes, katana!"
Yeah.
And it immediately adapts to him as the new wielder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he can cut through Naoya.
Yeah.
Does that sound plausible?
So. That sounds okay to me, because this is one of those things where I'm like, he doesn't
understand it himself.
Yeah, he doesn't understand the cursed energy, and he can't see it. But it obviously it works for him at some level. So it's just like, I figured he's just like the past version of Maki, as the person who can fight sorcerers and cursed spirits using tools, even though he can't personally see the stuff.
I like it when that happens. It's kind of like when a stand user gets beaten by somebody who's not a stand user.
Exactly. They can't even see it, but they're just figuring stuff out. I think he's a pretty cool addition to this.
I would say it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care that much about the situation in the first place. So I guess he's a welcome change, but also he's kind of a weirdo, and he's just introduced
they're all
out of nowhere. So it's especially
the thing is, I think I've said before,
so,
like, that is how I'm feeling about the entirety of this arc. The entire calling game arc, I'm a little bit met on, because every single battle in it is like, oh, two weirdos who are like completely new just showed up, and we're gonna fight now. Yeah, like there's so little connection to the so-called main characters of this series, who I haven't seen for like a year, right?
Yeah,
so it's
getting close to a year now.
I'm still like very met on this arc, on this entire arc. And I think specifically this, it feels like either the author or the editors were like reading Noya versus Maki and Noritoshi and said, this is boring. Let's throw in some new guys to make it exciting.
Yeah. That's exactly how it feels.
There's tons of like ancient sorcerers from the past spawning in, and new people manifesting power. So we can just throw in some new guys. And here they are, and it's like, oh, thank goodness one of them is kind of interesting, even though he's like a lame, weird old man. He's kind of interesting with the sword stuff. The other one, I'm like, I don't care about this.
Yeah, Sumo guy is so bad. All. I hate him.
He looks lame. And his whole thing is he just likes sumo, and he doesn't really even do anything, does he?
At the end, he does something that will get explored later on, like in the next chapter. But for the most part, the only thing we see him is like challenging people to do sumo, and everybody hates it. The kids play Pokemon and talk about like Dittos with perfect IV values, and that's the most interesting part in his thing. Unless you might want to say that, oh, it's interesting how the girls, even though that girls can't sumo because it's ancient Japanese
that's the way
rituals.
Old-timey stuff is. Yeah, no girls allowed.
Yeah, but in the end he summons a small domain, and Maki steps into
the sumo domain. Yeah.
She will have to abide by the sumo rules. But first of all, it's really interesting how the old guy just like cuts Naoya in half, even though he can't even see him.
Well, it's sort of weird explanation where he's like, well, since I can't see the cursed spirit, it's okay because I'll look and see everything around it, and that's how I'll know where it is. Like, okay.
Cool line. It's a really cool line.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense, but it's really cool.
It doesn't explain how you'd be able to see it when it's not like doing anything, because that sort of thing makes sense when you're like, oh, there's like an invisible creature rampaging, so it's got to be in the space where I don't see it displacing stuff, right? Like you can sort of tell its effects on the world and figure out where it is from there. But there, like Noya, he can fly.
Yeah, that's a problem.
It's sort of weird. It's just like, oh, I can sense where he slice him in half. Like, how could you? He's floating.
Maybe he makes a lot of noises and you just can't. He just can't hear it.
He does talk a lot. I will say that when the two showed up, Noritoshi was immediately like, who are you guys? And it was like, who cares? And I'm like, yeah, actually Noya has the correct answer here. Like, yeah, who cares? This is just some new guys. You don't really need to know their entire backstory. They just know that they're here to fight.
It's also funny. I just noticed that the old guy upgraded. When he was reborn, he was wearing a shirt. And pants.
You're right.
Now he's found.
He's in the
He found a kimono.
When did that happen?
Sometime.
Did it happen during their fight, or was it like off screen?
Maybe off screen.
Yeah, but he has upgraded. He used to just be wearing normal clothes. And now he's getting to be all cool looking with the old timey clothes. And then Maki she's in the sumo domain, and she's thinking about how she can be more like Fushigoro's dad.
That's Fushigoro's dad?
Yeah.
He looks like one of the aliens aliens.
Only because they colored his eyes in dark, because she's thinking about him when he gets... There's a storyline where they spawn him in, like basically a ghost, to fight, and his eyes get all blocked out in that part.
I see. I wanted to ask you about who this is supposed to be.
Yeah, that's Fushigoro's dad, and that's
also just wearing a sweater, lame sweater.
Yes, he's very boring looking, even though people think he's really cool. People think he's cool because he's just incredibly strong.
I've seen so many girls lusting over this old guy. It's insane.
He's not even that old.
And then
because he died when Fushiguro was like a little baby, so
fine. Either way, he's supposed to be the sexiest character in the whole series. Then he gets drawn like an aliens area.
He's just a guy in a sweater.
So stupid.
But he was I think he's the only person who beat Gojo in a fair fight.
Right.
Like everyone else, then Gojo like fights them, they just instantly die to him. So he's the only guy who could stand up to him. And I believe he's Noya's brother or cousin. So yeah, they got the family connection there. But he was way stronger than anyone else in their clan. And then he's just like, screw this, I'm out of here, and left.
That's his claim to fame.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, this was an okay chapter. I gave it 55 points. It wasn't that exciting, and all of the weird, goofy guys showing up.
Yeah, as I said, the katana guy, he's like, it's a little bit interesting, but also he's a little bit of a repeat of Maki, because he's a sorcerer who can't see cursed energy, so has to use the cursed tools. So I'm like, okay, well, we kind of already have that with her.
Why didn't she go like, who are you? And he goes, I'm you, but better.
Yeah. And then the sumo guy, I just don't care about him at all. So,
yeah, especially because he's a kappa. Kappa's lame.
Kappa bad. Except for the kappa in Ayashimon, who we never saw anything more from, sadly. She's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, she was a... You're just saying that because she just looks like a pretty girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how you fix bad characters. It's like Kappa. Kappa is a bad character design. How do you fix that? Well, you make it a cute girl. Done.
Or you make it
so good.
Or you make it a really scary, creepy lizard monster. That's also fine.
Mm-hmm.
No in between. Anyway. Manga.
Next manga, we got another thing that is very good. It's Witch Watch, chapter 75, Incredible Shrinking Adventure. So you said that One Piece was your favorite. I would have said this is my favorite chapter this week.
I have really personal history with this chapter, so that's why.
Oh, really? Okay. Let's hear it. So first off, we got the Japanese version with the ad.
No, show me compare the English.
English. What's this Japanese? Wait, there's
English. The sweeter it, the happier you will be.
Nice.
Are you telling me you didn't notice that?
I didn't notice that until you said it. The sweeter it, the happier you will be. Very good. So
nice color page. Nothing more to say
nice
other than Nico cute.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so. First of all, this is the chapter in which Nico cast a spell to make them all smaller because they want to eat donuts as a small ant-sized creature and just get their stomach full. Because donuts in Japan are expensive. That's not just like a $1 treat. That's
not a big donut. That's a little donut.
Yeah. The Mr. Donut donuts are not that big.
Yeah.
Maybe they've gotten bigger.
Do you like the mochi ones that they sell over there?
I haven't tried those.
Okay, they're good.
They're really so expensive.
Yeah, well, they're worth it. They're delicious.
I usually invest my money into hamburgers, so I wouldn't know.
A place opened up in town near where I live that does mochi. I say near. It's like 40 minutes away.
That's not near.
It's really good though.
Anything that's not 5 minutes away isn't near.
Yeah, anything less than an hour away is near enough for me to drive to in a day.
America.
They're really good, but there's always like a line to get into the place because it's very popular.
Because everybody's driving 40 minutes to get there.
Everyone likes it. Yeah. It especially sucks because it's in one of those neighborhoods where
it's shanked.
It's a nice neighborhood. It's just that it's all smaller houses. So there's there's some places where everything is like big complexes, and then there's loads of parking because of it. Maybe you don't know, but here in places where there's big housing complexes, there's usually lots of parking. Because they know that for each building they need like way more places to park. But then for places that are like surrounded by smaller neighborhoods that just have single homes, then there's usually like no parking at all. So if there's a place there that becomes popular, then people will be like parking like 4 blocks away and walking there.
I understand now. Yeah, that's bad.
Anyway, all I wanted to say is mochi donut's good. They don't have those. They've got normal glazed donuts here, but they also look very delicious.
Yes. Yeah. Donut's good.
Yeah. So Nico sings a little donut song. I feel like isn't there some anime where someone sings a donut song?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I'm looking forward to this being animated so we can hear what the melody for Donut Song is.
And just mainly, I'm appreciating how happy they are and how wholesome this beginning of the chapter is, where they just want to eat donuts.
I also liked how Moe is like not very reactive to being invited to go have a snack with them. It's very different than when Nemu and
you know what that means, right?
Well, it's like, remember Nemu and Keigo going up to her room to watch a movie?
His room.
Yeah, his room to watch a movie.
Is that worse or bad? Is it better or worse if a girl wants to get into a boy's room, or if a boy gets invited to a girl's room? Which one's worse?
What's worse?
Which one's lewder?
I don't know. Depends on the author.
Vote below. Comment now.
Leave your comments after you like and subscribe and hit the notification button. So they all go up to Nico's room and they're gonna eat the donuts, and Nico does the ensmallen on them to make them small.
Because
so they can eat it.
In theory, you would imagine that when you're small, the donut becomes bigger.
Relative to you, you're like, I got so much donut.
You just get more donut
forever. Yeah, Hera is smart here, and she's like, I'll pass. I don't.
No, she's not smart. She just has already eaten enough donuts to get her stomach full, and that's why she doesn't do it. She causes a lot of problems herself, but in theory, you would think that donut big, good.
Yeah.
But then somebody who really knows about theory shows up, and it's Kurare.
Yes. Because they got science consultant Kurare. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to see the return of this science consultant. Yeah, he's back. I was reading this, like, Bondo is going to be so smart now. That more manga in Jump are having science consultant Kurare come to help them
kind
out.
Of funny, now that I see this panel again, where Moi comments on how the glazed chocolate on top of the donut feels like he's barefoot in a Chinese restaurant. It's kind
very specific.
It's very specific, but I think I can kind of understand this.
Yeah.
There's so many kurare,
understandable.
So many kurare notes.
Yes,
because
except for one time when it said no science consultant.
Yes, that's the funny bit. It's so that's the main joke about
the setup,
getting kurare
and then
all the
payoff.
Time. Yeah, I like that. What I didn't like is, I guess, that all of these problems of being small and not being able to do X or Y, because when you're small, your power output is...
You're relatively too weak for the things around you.
Yeah, it's not... You would think, like, oh, I'm half the size, so I'm just half as strong. But it gets complicated with math, and that takes all of the fun out of it.
He explains it pretty well.
You can literally do nothing. You can't interact with the world because you're not an ant who has extremely powerful...
That's right. You're not designed for like an ant is. Yeah, reading this chapter reminded me of a couple things. One is, do you like PBF comics?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it reminded me of the cake one. Do you remember that?
I don't.
It's this one where...
Nunez,
we need to find our way out of this desert.
Nunez!
I was like, oh no, is this going to happen to Nico and Moi?
See, that's where the thing comes around. Because I was trying to think, even before Witch Watch came out, I was trying to think about like a manga with magic powers, where they just explore different kinds of magic and how that would...
Here it is.
And here it is, because the one thing I was like, I've never seen it this way, and I kind of want it. And now Witch Watch is doing it. It was kind of just a question of time, a matter of time, if Witch Watch was going to do it, and they're not doing it the way I wanted it.
Too bad.
The way I wanted it is closer to the PBF comic, where when you're extremely small...
Yeah, you are able to eat everything.
No. Well, yes. The way I wanted it was that you're so small, you're so incredibly small that the surface of like a table or the floor becomes a wasteland of nothingness, because you're so small that like a speck of dust becomes like as huge as a hill.
Yeah. That's way smaller than they got, though.
Yes, and
it's all a question of scale.
Then all of the stuff that Moi brings in with like how you can't affect the world, that takes the fun out of it. I wanted it to be kind of like, oh no, we're stranded in the desert, and it's actually just like extremely small. That's what I wanted.
The thing that I was going to say for you, they've gone 1/100th scale, right?
Yeah.
For being so little that like a speck of dust is a hill, you'd probably have to be like 1/1000th scale.
Yeah.
What I was going to say about this, about Nico making a mistake, is that if she really wanted it to just be like, oh, the donut is so big now, then instead of trying to be 100th scale, so you're standing on the donut, she should have just made them like 1/12th scale. So they'd be like the same size as a Figma.
Yes.
And the donut would still seem huge to them.
But you could still eat it.
But they could probably still eat it then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her mistake. You know what? They should repeat this chapter, but with going 1/12th scale for the announcement of when Witch Watch Figmas go on sale.
Yeah, I want that. The nice thing about Witch Watch is
from
that
Roboco.
That's not the nice thing. The nice thing is that they sometimes bring spells back when they have figured out how to make use of it.
Yeah. It'd be great.
What happens next? Kara is being an asshole. She just sneezes onto the donut.
She doesn't care at all about them. You think that in this situation, when your friends are like shrunken down to tiny size, you would very carefully watch them to be like, how are you guys doing? I want to see. Instead, she's like, oh, whatever. And she doesn't even cover her mouth. She sneezes right on them and they go flying.
Onto the donut.
Yeah, they go flying off of the... Oh, that's right. Even if they weren't small, she's sneezing onto the plate of donuts.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I don't want any more. But let me get my spit all over the rest of them.
Yeah.
How rude.
Look at that cloud of corona coming out of her.
Yeah, disgusting.
So Nico gets trapped inside a piggy bank, and Moi doesn't have the power to break it.
He's too little.
And his solution is going inside Kara's ear to tell her, because previously the problem was that their voices don't reach. And then he gets worried about, like, oh no, if she thinks I'm a bug, I would die. Because I would get crushed. But my worry is completely different.
What's your
because
worry?
A second ago he was worried about Nico becoming big again.
Growing
and
big.
Then then
what if he grows big in her ear?
If he grew big inside her ear, the thing would happen that happens in The Boys.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that happens to Thanos. Or wait, did they do that in The Boys?
It's the same
did they do
thing.
The exact...
Yes.
Did they make a Boys episode based on the Thanos meme?
Yes. And I only know this because people made a meme about where there's a song by Shakira where she's walking through an orange, let's say flesh-colored tunnel. And people were like, The Boys, season 4, episode 1. And I was like, why is this a meme? I clicked on it, and the clip of what's happening is extremely gross and not safe for work.
But it's basically what people said Ant-Man should do to Thanos.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody
so we don't want that to
explodes,
happen to Kara.
I was
her ear to explode.
I was so scared
Moi
of that
big.
happening. Moi being inside her ear is so much more dangerous.
You know why I wasn't worried about that? It's because of the way that they display how Nico would go back to the normal size. Like, it seemed like it would be growing at a speed that's not like super fast. But my thought is that if Moi like begins growing there, he would be able to jump out really quick, because he's just in her earlobe. He's not like all the way into her ear canal. So I was not worried about that at all. But when you bring it up, that would be bad.
It was very gory.
Yeah, don't want that to happen to her. Fortunately, Shiki is back.
Yeah.
And Shiki
Did I take a screenshot of that? I didn't.
You didn't take a screenshot of that, but
that was the last.
I did appreciate that Shiki comes down from Kara's ear, and Moya's like, "Oh, you can actually hear us no matter how small we are." Science consultant, no one.
Yeah, that was the.
And then Shiki is able to fly Nico out of the piggy bank, and the day is saved.
Overall, it was a nice chapter.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I felt like some things could have been handled differently. And that means I just have to make my own manga with blackjack and hookers.
Yeah.
So I gave it 73 points.
Okay, pretty good. Not as good as One Piece, even though I laughed at this chapter very hard. So I said it was my favorite this week. Going on, something else. Not quite as...
What's next? Sakamoto Days.
But pretty good chapter, I thought. It's Sakamoto Days. So first off, we got Sakamoto getting keys from the other teachers.
Master key.
The master key. And his disguise is like wearing off, and he has a line saying, "I'm starting to transform back." And I'm like, wait, are you acknowledging it's more of a magic power than a disguise when you're saying transform?
Well, I mean, he does have a time limit, so it does wear off. I just don't know what the rules are. Maybe we can pretend that there is some kind of biochemical material that just it's perfect, but it deteriorates if it's in direct contact with skin. And
magic.
Sakamoto himself has a lot of skin.
Yeah, that's true. He does. Anyway, this chapter is 84. The title is "What a Nice Smell," and I'm just like, what could this smell be referring to? It's not the boy smell that Sanagi was getting high off of when Shugamaru became her age, is it?
No, it's not boy smell.
It's not, but it kind of is. Yeah. So Sakamoto gets the keys, but someone else wants the keys too. Because Amane shows up and he's got or not the same, but a similar sectioned staff, but it's with a spearhead on the end.
I mean, it's the same type of weapon.
Same type of weapon as Yotsumura.
Obviously not the same, but it's
right. Because Yotsumura still has its own, but it's similar. Same genre of weapon that Yotsumura has.
And I guess that's why they bring it back, like why they introduced Yotsumura at the beginning, because they wanted to bring it back. They wanted to close the circle.
And Sakamoto is like, Amane, is your dad named Yotsumura? And when Amane is like, no way. At first, I took that to mean that they were not actually related, and Sakamoto is just making assumptions because that's the thing that always happens in manga, that someone with the same abilities as someone else, it's because they're the child of that person.
And it is.
And it's like, Sakamoto made a mistake just following this manga trope. Oh, but actually, Amane is Yotsumura's son.
It is.
He just said no because Yotsumura killed the mom. Sad backstory incoming.
I would say I dislike Yotsumura. I dislike Amane. I don't like their motivations. But I do like the chase scene that ensues.
It was a very good chase scene where they're fighting through the hallways and using the stuff that goes around. And we get shown off Sakamoto's skills and also instantly tossing back the gun out of the box that he pulled it from. And saying that it needs polishing to the guys who are carrying it while continuing the chase.
Not only are they using stuff that they pick up while running, they also just, like Sakamoto, they jump through a kitchen with some really weird looking grannies who just stand around for some reason.
They're probably used to that. People are fighting all the time.
And I really like that he's just, that's such a stupid and cliche thing, but him grabbing a bite of something on the way, I just like seeing that.
Yeah, I mean that's why he has to hold in his tummy because he'll be fat.
Yeah,
he's always grabbing food when he goes to the kitchen. Yeah, it's one of those things it's an action scene, but it's also a character scene.
Then it's such a really good moment where Amane gets into a class that's currently going on, right?
Yes,
and
I like that.
He just slowly walks in the back, sits down,
sits down. This is the stealth that they were talking about before, where an assassin must be able to blend in and not draw attention to themselves. This is what they're doing. They're putting it into practice.
It's so funny because you have this really high-speed chase, and they break through stuff. They shoot at each other, and they do all sorts of stuff. Then suddenly it slows down, and it's just them walking quietly, slowly. And then when everybody stops paying attention to them again, they immediately start fighting.
Yeah.
Quietly. And that's a really good scene. I think in anime form, this will really look good. The only worry I have is that since they run through the whole school, that would require them to have a lot of backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah.
They would probably even have to do 3D animation where there's
there's definitely going to be a lot of 3D up in there with the hallways.
Either
But
they have
hopefully,
to
since the
use
hallways are
3D
like fairly straight, then it won't be like noticeable 3D. Because I feel like the times that we don't like the way that 3D animation looks in anime is when they have stuff that is more rounded, where you can tell where it's been CGI'd. I feel like whenever things are like fairly straight like this, it looks fine when you CGI it.
I wonder.
Yeah.
There's many ways how this could play out, and like I imagine the ideal anime form, and I would say that's probably a credit to the manga itself. How it's drawn in a way that makes you imagine how it would look like in the anime, and even if the anime itself doesn't end up looking as good as you imagine, the manga itself being able to elicit that imagery
you can
your head
feel the action even without it actually being animated yet.
That's the mark of a good manga.
Yeah. And here's the panel where the title comes from. What a nice smell. It's the smell of Sakamoto.
All right. Is it supposed to be like him as a woman immediately smells better? Or
he's probably wearing his wife's perfume to complete the disguise.
Maybe. Yeah. Or is it supposed to mean that since they just came out of the kitchen and he was mid-eating something?
Oh, that could be it too. It's the smell of the bread. It's just so good. Yeah.
What could it be? We'll never find out.
Or because they're assassins. It's the smell of a freshly fired gun. It's just so nice.
Yeah, sure. Might as well.
I'll just say it's the smell of Sakamoto. That's what the title chapter is for.
I see. Overall, I did like the chase scene. I didn't like everything else, so that's why I was kind of more harsh with the rating. 61 points.
Oh, a lot lower. Yeah, I like this chapter pretty well. It's a good action scene, and I don't hate Yotsumura and Amane like you seem to. I'm fine with them being there. It's okay. So, yeah, we'll see what happens next week, because now that they've fought and Sakamoto has gotten his hands onto Amane, we're gonna get some more talkie next week and find out what exactly he's up to.
I bet we won't see the conclusion of this next week. I think we're going back to Shin.
Well, I'm fine with that too, because I liked that. I guess battle sequence that they're having where they're challenging the teacher. I thought that's pretty cool too.
Let's see if they move on to that part already. Next manga.
Got Hero Academia. Return,
The return of Jonesy to the island.
Yeah. Chapter 364. Why we wield power. So last week Jonesy told us that some people are heroes and they protect, and some people are villains and they violate. So it's like, yeah, that's why he wields power, to violate, right?
Why does Tatsuki Fujimoto wield power?
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Just read the
she's
manga.
A good character.
Yeah.
Hated this chapter. This chapter is, incidentally, I've seen so many people who also dislike it. It's it has one very big scene in the middle where it just shows how the US president is kind of a little bitch. That was
really dumb. I thought that was stupid. I also I don't really like the villain motivation speech that he gives here.
Bad. It's
because usually... I think last week we already said this is stupid when he's like, oh, because we violate, and then this week he says, oh, it's I like comics. I want to be like the bad guy.
We kind of knew that already, but the problem is we've already had several, especially several Shonen Jump villains who kind of have.
I was looking at this and thinking, this is basically like, it's sort of like Garo in
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah,
But
somehow it feels dumber because Garo, one thing that I think makes more sense with him is he's a young punk, right?
Yes.
He's a young punk who is just so happens to be amazingly good at martial arts. And through that, he becomes stronger and stronger. And then through his bitterness at the unfairness of the world, he gets stronger and stronger. And he becomes a supervillain through that. Even though his initial motivation is kind of feeling injustice for the side of the villains he reads about in comics. Like, oh, people don't treat them well. Right?
Garo is driven by compassion for the underdog, and
yes,
he imagines that
he's obviously he's mistaken.
Yeah,
and he's doing bad things a lot of times, but you can understand it. And then one big difference that I want to say though is Garo he's a young guy who works on his own.
Yeah,
All for One is 100 years old. And he's built up this massive organization. It's you think that he has to put a lot of thought into that, right?
Yeah.
So you think that he would have thought through this, his motivation and how to explain it a bit more, because I don't know, it seems weird for it to be on a Garo level, considering the things that he's done because of it.
The problem goes deeper because Garo and even from Naruto, Madarame, their goal is to have some kind of evil that's so powerful that it makes everybody unite in fear.
Yeah, right.
And All for
One. It's kind of also the guy from what do you call it? Watchmen too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not the most uncommon villain motivation, but the way that All for One explains it is much stupider than those other guys.
The point I'm making is that All for One doesn't have this as his end goal. He doesn't want to make the world better. He just
wants to be the big bad, so he can be big and bad.
He just wants to destroy everything for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Not for a higher goal. Some of the villains sometimes in My Hero Academia, I think, have alluded to that they have the goal to make the world a better place.
The Ninja Turtle guy.
Spinner. Right.
Yeah.
But All for One is just evil for evil's sake, and that's extremely stupid.
It's dumb, and he's the main one. It's unfortunate.
I don't understand how My Hero Academia, with all of its genre savviness, of knowing all of these,
missed out on this thing.
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
What's the deal with genre savviness in Hero Academia?
What's the deal with the main villain being the worst possible main villain?
Yeah, because you think that he would have read all of the different main villains from other things that we've mentioned, and
be inspired to make the ultimate version of that. Instead, he's picking the best worst version of that.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought that usually everybody's trying to make the villain super sympathetic and I can kind of see where he's coming from. That kind of how people talk about Thanos.
Yeah, everyone loved that. Yeah.
Maybe he was maybe it's time to subvert everybody's expectation that the villain is going to be sympathetic, and instead it's going to be so cool that the villain is just evil.
Yeah, but then when he makes... when he does it like this, it makes it nonsensical. Because I could imagine a villain who's just purely motivated by I want to be the big bad guy who's super cool and can beat everyone else, but not when he's also building a huge organization. Because I feel like that a villain with that sort of motivation would probably be the type who is just on the top purely because of their strength, and their organization was built up by people who respect their strength. But then the guy at the top doesn't really do any planning. He's just I want to enjoy life and be feared. That's what I would imagine. But
A different version of that could
like
be that somebody just wants to be the ultimate strongest there is.
Mm-hmm.
And the result of that is that he becomes evil.
Yeah.
Because he ends up like identifying people who are strong, but also fighting for justice. And then he's like, oh, if I want to be the strongest, I have to kill that guy. And that kind of like then might
yeah, it's just there's a million ways you could do a villain who has a more interesting motivation than I want to be big,
I want to be evil.
I want to be evil. Yeah, it's dumb.
It's so funny that you can describe somebody who just wants to be strong. This is still more interesting than somebody who just wants to be
so
evil.
Plain, yeah. Well, because evil, I feel like there's lots of comics stories in general that explore the idea of like what exactly is evil and how does somebody get to be doing evil things, because it's so, I was gonna say cartoonish, but now there's so many cartoons that are based on stuff that's more advanced than this. But I guess Saturday morning cartoonish to have villains who are evil just because they want to be evil. I think most writers have moved on from that, and they'll have people who are doing evil things because it serves a goal, and they've gone into this space of being like I'm doing this for some ultimate goal, and the ends justify the means, rather than I'm doing this because this thing is evil, and that's all. Yeah, because like even think about like classic characters are just evil for the sake of being evil, like Sauron from Lord of the Rings. Like he does lots of evil things, like corrupting people to create orcs and destroying civilizations, but all of that is because he's like he wants to follow in the footsteps of basically the devil of the Lord of the Rings world and become like that and fight against the gods and rule the world. So it's like, yeah, he's got a goal beyond I'm just evil. This guy doesn't really say much beyond I want to be the evil one.
I could kind of understand it if My Hero Academia had some kind of like transcendental plane where there's like gods or some higher beings, and that he just wants to like. He's like, I want to be like them. I want to be the devil. I can understand that kind of like I want to be the ultimate evil, and there is a devil, and I want to become like to become like
the transcendental beings, because
I have to do the ultimate atrocities. But that's not all for one. He just wants to be the cartoon devil. He doesn't even.
It's just I like cartoon villains.
He doesn't even do it because he's like sadistic and wants to sate his extremely violent tendencies. He just wants to be the evil guy. That's not to say he does do like very gory stuff, right? But he's not doing it because he's into that specifically. And that just makes him less interesting.
Makes him boring. And then we also get a cutaway that I did not like, where it shows, because we all praised Star and Stripe, right?
Yeah,
we thought she was really cool, and then we get to see what the American government is up to, and the answer is nothing. They're completely useless now.
It's like the Prime Minister of England who kind of let the Nazis do their thing for a while. Is that Neville Chamberlain, or is it?
Yeah. There's another guy named Chamberlain, but he was a basketball player, so it's not him.
I see. Okay, yeah, so
Neville Chamberlain is the pre-World War II guy who.
And that's this president.
Yeah, that's this president. So this is really dumb to me, not just because I'm biased being an American, but like considering that Japan has so many superheroes.
Yeah.
You'd think that America, which is a country that has more than twice the population of Japan, would also have a ton of superheroes. Yet the president is just like, oh, we're gonna do nothing. Just let Shigaraki have his way. Yeah, just appease him. It'll be fine. Because it's like because also it shows one panel before this that's outside the White House, and there's guys out there, or no, there's not people, but there's a sign on the ground.
Yeah.
That someone left there saying, "We are all for one," right?
Oh.
So there's people out there who are like taking the side of the villains, which is nonsensical considering this motivation of I want to be the evil comic guy. Then it would
only it was at least
been
Destro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Right? Redestro is more. You'd think that he would be much more inspiring to people around the world who would want to rise up against the status quo. So there's like hints at there's some political conflict due to what's going on over there, but then they don't get into that at all.
Oh, and considering that the president is just a black silhouette, that shows us
that's right. They didn't think about him at all. They're like, we're not even going to give this guy a proper character design. He's just going to be a shadow in the shadows. And
I think that's an extremely missed opportunity that Horikoshi refuses to get deeper into it, while at the same time talking about it. Like, if you want to talk about it, then don't hand wave it like this, because
it's such a hand wave.
It makes it way too convenient.
Because I think the only other time we've seen like the other countries talking about it was the time where it just showed like a couple random heroes from different countries, and then Star is the only one who gets involved.
Yeah.
And I think then it showed the heroes, but then the politicians were just like shadow men like this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think
it only showed one hero, and that was the hero of Egypt.
Guy, right? Yeah. But I know that manga in general is often very, Japan-centric.
Yeah.
Everything happens in Japan. All the main characters are Japanese. But for something like this, where they're like, Shigaraki is now threatening the world, then you think that everyone would be like, okay, well, every country also has their own hero, so we'll just ask them to go help out. And they don't do it at all. And also, even without heroes, America has something called, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, it's called the nuclear arsenal. These things just like be like, okay, well, we've nuked Japan once before. I guess
we've done it once before. We can do it again.
Just nuke Shigaraki. I'm sure that, because instead of this discussion, which is should we do something or should we do nothing at all, let's do nothing at all. You think that the discussion would be more along the lines of what should we do? Should we just nuke him? Should we send a ton of heroes over to fight him?
Right, and I think one reason that was given why they don't do it is because All for One was also active internationally, and he destabilized all of these countries to the point where they don't think it's worth bothering with Japan while they have already problems going on in their own countries. That was the reason that was given why America held back for so long, even though America was in the picture from chapter 1. In the first chapter, it was mentioned that All Might was active in America.
Yeah, so, he has attacks named after places in America.
Well, that too, but like in a world where America gets mentioned as an active player in the plot, and then just pretending that it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
because that's what this is. It's pretending that America doesn't exist. If people bring up like, why doesn't America help Japan? It's basically coming out to the same result.
This is the international version of the problem we've said before, where it's kind of because they didn't give enough screen time to adult heroes. Then it's weird that in the main final battle, a majority of the combatants on the good guy side are kids.
Yeah,
it feels really strange, because you're like, oh, well, shouldn't there be more adults who are on the high power level to hang out with Endeavor and Hawks in the battle? Like, why is it only these kids who are joining that fight? And then if they're like taking care of other villains,
all the big players,
like we should see them too. it's the same sort of thing except worse, because I think with that we can assume that All for One has released a bunch of super strong villains. So then the adults that we haven't seen are probably fighting with them. But then in this case, it's like we actually have a page where they show like, oh yeah, there's some people who might be taking All for One's side in America, but there's no discussion of, oh, we are dealing with our own problems because of all of the All for One fans that are causing chaos here. They don't say that at all. They just say Shigaraki's scary, so we're going to do nothing.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's dumb. This could have
would be a good opportunity to remind us that this is the situation
have done
worldwide.
A way better hand wave.
Yeah.
They could have said, as well as all the Japanese supervillains that All for One released, he had agents around the world that released criminals and supervillains from every prison around the world. So every country is having their own version of this battle. And that's why they're not sending heroes to help us. That would have made sense. But instead they said, oh, actually, they probably could, but they're too scared. So they're not doing anything. It's a bad hand wave when there's a good hand wave right there that he could have put in, and he didn't.
And it would have opened up the door to like different stories.
Yeah, do more spin-offs in this world. Why not?
Yeah.
But he said no. He said actually they could, but the president is just dumb. So
in a world where everybody in the world has superpowers and only like a super small fraction of people don't get a quirk, like Deku.
Yeah.
That would, like, in the Japanese environment, that's interesting. We should get a look at what that turned into in America, because that's such a huge. It would be different in every culture. Yeah, and you would have to explain how the whole situation developed in America, because he doesn't want to do that, because that would probably ruin a lot of stuff in Japan. That's why he's forced to do that.
I still think he could have made a better explanation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he could have.
It's just the weakest possible. This is like the sort of thing where I'd prefer it if they just didn't show it at all and we could just write in our own explanation.
Exactly.
It's bad. And then the final part of this chapter is...
it's even worse.
Yeah, also really stupid. So, we've been saying... everyone's been saying, oh, Bakugo dead. And I thought that was really a bad place for it, because I was like, if Bakugo's gonna die... And the whole point of killing Bakugo from Shigaraki's perspective is to really piss off Deku.
Oh, I thought you were going to say from Horikoshi's perspective.
Why did he kill him off early? Oh, what were you going to say from Horikoshi's perspective for killing Bakugo?
Because it's such a shock factor of being like, wow, have you heard Bakugo is dead?
There would be a bigger shock factor if Deku saw it, then you could see his reaction.
Yeah.
It turns out the reason he got killed off before Deku showed up is that before there's the final battle between Deku and Shigaraki, then this other guy can show up and save him. This dude shows up, and I was like looking at him like, I was squinting at him. Yeah, me too. I was squinting at him like, your head shape, the overall shape of your head looks vaguely familiar, but I don't remember your name. And then I was looking at it more. I'm like, you know what? Your head shape isn't even familiar to me. I was thinking it was, but it's because there's another dude in the class who has a similar head shape.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wasn't even remembering you. I actually have zero memory of this guy.
This is an adult.
Maybe it doesn't. Yeah, this is one of the teachers, because it shows a flashback. He was in Best Genius class when they were kids. So
you
also didn't remember this guy at all? We've never seen this guy, because I often forget stuff. And you'll be like, oh, you don't remember that? And I was just like, no, I don't remember it. So I thought maybe it was one of those cases where it's just like, oh, because I have a worse memory, I forgot him. But you also don't remember him at all.
I don't remember this guy at all.
Yeah, so who are you? And it turns out he is the Deus Ex Machina to make Bakugo not dead. he just comes up and he's like, I got ninja powers and I'm gonna use my ninja magic to become Bakugo's heart. So he goes in. It's weird. It's a power that we've never seen before that doesn't seem to make sense with what he says.
Yes, it's weird and bad in multiple ways. Number one is nobody has any idea who this guy is.
Yeah.
Number two is nobody has any idea what his power is, and if he's just like, I can become this guy's heart and resurrect him. Like, how lazy is that? If
he's not even sacrificing another character that
that's the third part. Normally, when you have this kind of situation, you would do it with somebody that everybody is like, oh, I don't want him to die either, but he's the only one who has the power to do it. But nobody knows who this is. So, like,
another thing is that what is the value of in terms? Because like I can see from the author's perspective, the value of this is, people like Bakugo, so I want to bring him back. But from the character's perspective, what is the value of this? Because you're looking at this like, so this guy just watched Bakugo jump into the fight and absolutely get destroyed.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, I got magic powers, so I'm going to give up my life to revive him so he can jump into the fight and get destroyed again. It's so pointless. Like, maybe if Bakugo like actually had done a lot of damage and then Shigaraki like killed him through some means that was not just punching him so hard he died, if it was like some trickery to it, where it's like you could imagine, if he fought him with assistance or something like that, then he could win. But it's like, no, his attack did nothing to Shigaraki.
Yes.
And he got killed in one hit. So
this, as
why
I understand
would you sacrifice yourself to revive him?
Yeah, I would even argue that this guy's power is way more useful than anything Bakugo can do.
Yeah.
And, I don't understand what his power is, but it sounds like he can just infiltrate everything because he can, like, turn into some kind of material that can slip in, right? He can turn himself into something and he can slip in. That sounds way more useful than Bakugo can do explosions.
Yeah.
And him sacrificing himself out of nowhere, that's the ultimate Deus Ex Machina, and it's especially bad because normally when these kind of things happen, it's right after it happened. Like,
it's been 2 chapters. He's been dead.
It's been 2 chapters, so it feels like after the last chapter, it felt like ultimate that Bakugo is dead for real.
Yeah.
But pulling this one out right now, in this like 2 chapters later, it really doesn't make any sense from a rhythm, from a pacing perspective, because normally the next chapter after Bakugo has this extremely powerful death scene. The next chapter would deal completely with, oh no, he's dead, what can we do to revive him? And one guy stepping up and being like, I can sacrifice myself to do it. But this one, if you have one chapter in between, that completely disconnects you from the whole situation. Exactly. You've already made up your mind, like, okay, I guess Bakugo is dead now.
He's dead. It's the sort of thing where when you revive someone, I feel like it would work better because you say like doing it right after they die. That's one way to do it. Another way is you give it later. You give it a space, and make everyone think, oh, he's dead for good. And then they appear later, and you're like, what? And then you get like a flashback.
Maybe,
of how they did it. But this is like a weird in-between way. So it's like
the worst possible way to
kind
do
of strange.
it.
So it's weird from a pacing perspective. It's weird from character motivation perspective.
And in-world resources.
Yeah. So I just looked up on the Hero Academia wiki what this guy's ability is. So he's Jolene. He can turn into strings.
That's already Best Jeanist's power.
Yes. So I'm looking at this like, okay, so Best Jeanist from high school had a best friend who could also turn into strings. And that guy is going to sacrifice his life to revive Bakugo. When Best Jeanist was like sitting next to Bakugo crying over his death. It's like, well, why didn't you just have Best Jeanist sacrifice his life? Because people care more about him than this dude.
Yes.
It's
Best
strange.
Jeanist could have... If this guy can turn into strings and Best Jeanist can create strings, why doesn't he create a heart out of strings out of thin air?
Good question. It's weird. Also, I was thinking, like, he said,
same
I'm going
power.
to turn into his heart.
Yeah.
You remember who's the last character who turned into someone's heart to revive them? In something we've read, not in this series specifically. It's Pochita from Chainsaw Man.
Ah, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
Bakuga is gonna come back as Ninja Man with a Ninja Devil for a heart.
If only it would only be better because Bakugo is an asshole.
Yeah. So how did you rate this chapter? I was
40
not
points.
into it.
This is bad. This is
bad
shit.
Chapter.
I hate it. This is why.
Hero Academia bad this week. So tell me about Blue Box next.
I don't want to tell you about Blue Box.
Tell me, you must. Just be quick about it.
Okay. So this chapter. Wait, what even happened? I kind of forgot about a lot of things that happened.
Chapter 66.
So it's the continuation of the last bit where Taiki gets surprised by Chinatsu Senpai, who's now going to live with them again, now that her grandpa is out of the hospital. And he was trying to, in this part, he was trying to bring up the culture festival where everybody thought he kissed Hina in the play.
Not kiss.
And it obviously left a big impression on Chinatsu Senpai because she got the big double page where one of them was completely empty. And the mangaka got, I don't know, how much money do you get for one page of manga? Probably something like 10,000. No, that can't be. At least, you get probably at least the equivalent of $1,000 for one page. Once it goes through the entirety of the process, right? Like you get money for the weekly publication, and you get money later on for the tankobons. I bet you get 1,000 for one page.
You got 1,000 for doing.
Eventually, maybe not right away, but eventually, maybe even more, depending on how popular you are. And imagine handing in work that's like an empty page, and you get 1,000 euro for that. Or 1,000.
It's the composition. It's adding to the double page spread.
At least put her in the middle so you can.
No, then the seam would be over her. The fold.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I know. I had a different alternative suggestion what to do. What was it? Draw the everything else, but blur it. That was it.
Yeah, that's
would have been so much better. I wouldn't complain if the artist just did the good thing that I'm telling you.
You could even use the Clip Studio assets for that. No one would notice.
Yes. It's like just be Pppp. He's figured it out. He's making
the money every once
in
a while. Yeah. Anyway, so she stuffs this thing in his mouth, so he won't talk anymore.
She avoids the question. She gives him the castella, which probably doesn't even taste good, and absconds. Scene switch to them being in school, and people are still talking about it, and it doesn't really go anywhere. They look at Hina. She has something of a, like, this is almost a nude
She's
shot.
She's doing the pose.
You can.
The one that lets you see the booba and the butt at the same time.
That's right. I kind of would have expected this to be a little bit more titillating, but I don't know. Maybe it's too. Doesn't matter. Even the friends of Chinatsu Senpai want to talk to her about the rumor and she's kind of like oblivious to it, but at the same time, even if she was conscious about the whole thing going on, like if she paid attention to everybody else, she would still reply this way. So it's kind of ambiguous. If she even listened to it. Then later on, she's staying over with her supermodel childhood friend, the girlfriend of Taiki's.
Is this a flashback to when they were?
Yes, it's a flashback because they talk about like even back then you weren't even interested in wanting to marry the hot kindergarten teacher who everybody wanted. Like, look at all of these tiny thoughts throwing themselves at the one guy they know. They've never seen a man in that age and immediately fall in love with him. And she's just look, it's a ball.
She fell in love with the ball instead.
She's in love with the ball. Maybe even two. And her supermodel friend asks her, like, could it be that you maybe already have somebody you're interested? And then she, in the final double page spread, admits that, yes, I do have somebody. And maybe the author figured that... No, wait. It's the editor who must have done this. He was trying to do the same thing one more time.
That person, no, put something on the other side.
Yeah.
We need imagery on the page. You just see the blank.
He's doing it again. You can't keep getting away with it. He didn't get away with it.
He didn't get away with it. He had to draw Taiki sleeping too.
That's the whole chapter. And
wow.
Yeah, I didn't like it. 35 points, 5 less than Macadamia.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed. This isn't
going. Nothing happens really. There's one
it's
semi titillating artwork.
Yeah, and
not enough for him.
Didn't pop a boner or anything.
Hopefully, you continue not to in the next one because it's
next
Akane-banashi.
Yes, Akane-banashi.
Yeah, it's with the cover page for their selling takoyaki.
Who are these people? It's her and...
salesman.
Huh?
Yeah, who are those girls? I don't recognize
There's
them.
a guy in the picture. She's ruined now.
Oh no.
Just like my VTubers who were in the presence of a male collaborator.
Yeah. What's up with
that? That's people indies making Hololive's problems their own problems. It's stupid.
I thought the Hololive regularly have the collaborations with the male members.
No, you can't. Well, it has happened in the past, but it's not regular by any stretch of the meaning. Like you can probably count them.
Yeah, but they have collabed sometimes. It's not like people are making out as if female VTubers and male VTubers have never interacted before. No,
it's so few times that this has happened, at least in Hololive. In Niji Sanji it has happened more, but in Hololive it's just a few times. Like I know Fubuki and Arurandes have done a few moments together, and I do know that Kali had one duet with one of the boys. With Rika, but and also Roberu was Yukoku Roberu was doing some collabs with girls from a different group, so I guess maybe that's okay. But during that collaboration, they were constantly making jokes about how there's a rumor about how he has already banged all of them, and he kept denying it, like no, this isn't true. Don't let this spread.
By the confetti, like in Blue Box.
And all the while he was doing that, he was playing Mario Kart on such a high level that in a way that makes it better than Blue Box. Better than Taiki. Taiki playing
a better sports manga than Blue Box.
Yes.
Anyway.
Denying your romance and playing a sport competently. That's the essence, and Hololive is being better at it than Blue Box.
Maybe Blue Box would be better if
They were just playing Mario Kart.
If the author watched more Hololive, yeah. Or if it was about playing Mario Kart instead of about playing badminton.
Imagine.
Anyway, back to Akane-banashi.
Yes.
So this is chapter 27, conversation, and it's where Akane finally has gotten to the room with the big bad, and she's gonna ask him why he killed her dad.
Yeah. All the moments leading up to this event.
All the moments leading up to it. And we first get like an aside with the other Rakugo competitors.
Yes, her rivals, Kadashi and the idol.
And they're very salty about how Isho told Akane, this isn't where you belong. And they're like, he was referring to us being on such a lower level than her.
Yes, the implication is that Akane is basically on a pro level and they're just amateurs.
Yeah. It hurts so much.
Very nice.
Yeah. So then we get to them actually confronting, and she just straight up says, why'd you kill my dad? And at that point, Isho, like, weirdly, there's a bunch of journalists in the room when they start talking.
I was surprised about that. I thought that the whole deal was that they would get a moment alone, but I guess it was a PR
like a public event
all of the time.
Because you'd think that sort of prize would be fine, like just even without all the PR people, just to be like, oh, you get to talk to such a big shot, and that'll probably open up lots of opportunities. But no, it's they have the media there. And then it doesn't matter, because after this question, Isho is like, get out. I gotta talk to her alone about this.
He was very pleased about her asking this question. She asks it and he just simply smiles, and then he sends everybody out. And because he was waiting for her to let something like that slip, because he wanted to slam it in her face that he recognized immediately that she was Shiguma's pupil.
Yeah.
And he was just waiting for the moment to just give it to her. Like, you were Shiguma's pupil and thought I wouldn't realize it, huh?
Makes you think there's got to be some drama between the emperors of Rakugo.
Of course, but also the implication
pupil
of that is that even Shiguma had no idea and no power over this whole situation.
Right, yeah.
And that they don't even talk in, like, they're part of the same school, and they never talk about these kind of things.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird if you think about it.
I'm sure that happens sometimes in groups like that, where the big shots are kind of rivals to each other, and they just don't want to share information. I'm sure it happens. But the thing that he didn't know, so he's very smug about it. Like, I knew that you're Shiguma's apprentice, but he didn't know that that her dad was one of the guys that he killed.
Yes, that's what he didn't know.
So that kind of takes him by surprise. But then it's like, he's like, I figured it out. And then she turns it around like, oh, well, my dad was one of the guys that you expelled. You didn't know that. But then he turns it around once again. And he's basically like, well, the reason was just what I said. Just they weren't up to the level that I expected. So your dad deserved to die. And
the big surprise to me, I think, because
he confronts her with like, think about it.
Previously, we were led to believe that her dad was really, really good and that he deserved to have the spot. But I guess that's a case of unreliable narrator.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, well, he was only really, really good because that was the perspective of you when you were a kid. And now that you are at pro level, then think about it again and realize that he was just getting pity applause. And he wasn't actually at the right level.
They could still say that maybe he's usually really good, but on that day he made a mistake because he was just so nervous. And that the criteria is that even in such situations you have to be on your A game.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's the case. Maybe it's not.
Well, either way, he's just not up to Isho's standards. So then realizing that, and there's no like weird ulterior motive, it's just purely that he's got super high standards, and it's kind of shocking Akane here. And yeah.
The shock is that the dad probably wasn't as good as everybody was led to believe.
Right, and it's making her kind of realize, it's interesting to me that now it means that she has surpassed the level that he was at all those years ago, because she's just been working so hard to get to it. Because that was 6 years ago, so she's been like hardcore practicing Rakugo for 6 years.
Yeah.
So now she's better than her dad was.
We kind of don't know for sure if she's surpassed the dad yet, because this was just
assumption.
This was just a amateurs competition. If she surpasses the dad, that means she was worthy of the Shinichi seat. But I don't think that's the case yet. That would mean she has already surpassed all of her senpais.
Right, so. Oh, right, because they're not at that position yet. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but she's at least at a higher level than is expected of someone her age, basically.
Yeah.
And high enough level to be able to recognize that if she thinks about it deeper, her dad wasn't actually to the standards of getting what he was trying to get.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of interesting twist. I kind of want to see her talk to her dad about it after this, because he's just been dead for so long.
He's crestfallen.
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of curious, because I'm like, you'd think he would have wanted to see the competition and see her perform, since she started.
Now that you mention
because of his inspiration, but then like she doesn't really share it with him when she's getting good at it and actually going out and performing.
He wasn't even in the audience.
Yeah, you think she would have like tried to get him to go. It's weird.
Damn, he really is dead.
That really is the thing that makes it seem like he's dead instead of just not working in Rakugo anymore. The fact that he's not in her performance, like he's not in her audience.
This kind of feels like this is the 4Kids version of he committed suicide, except
they have to make up a throwaway line to say he's not dead, but then a lot of things sort of point to him being dead.
There was this panel in Taco B's Original Sin where the main character hung herself, and like that shot would probably get repeated, like, remember he killed himself, and then they just cut out that panel all of the time and filled it with the dad just being on the phone selling cement.
Yeah, sad. So anyway, how did you rate this one?
It was a good chapter. I thought it was pretty 75 points.
Seeing the other classmates of hers on the cover, though, once again did just make me kind of wish that this were a longer, well, I say longer, assume like as if I know it's going to end soon. It just feels like it's going to end soon, because she's gotten to this point where she's talking to the main villain. I
mean, if you weren't
seeing her
paying as
classmates
much
on
attention,
the cover,
we do know that 2 series are starting in the next 2 weeks. So if we were just reading the magazine from start to finish, and that's all the information we had, there might be a reasonable fear that Akane-banashi might end in the next 2 issues. But we already know
it's 2 other things. But I was just gonna say, like, the appearance of the 2 classmates on the cover make me kind of wish for this to have been a longer arc, where she is shown interacting with her class a bit more, and then applying Rakugo to other situations, or applying her daily situations to her Rakugo.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been better if it was if it took its time a bit more,
I agree.
Maybe not quite as much as Ruridragon was, but a bit more than this rush to the tournament and confronting the final boss.
At the very least, we now finally do have the answer to the one question that was driving this plot.
Yeah, from the very beginning. Why did
one thing that I
Akane's
was
dad?
complaining about, why is that the one thing that is the one mystery that we are left without knowing?
And who knows? Maybe I'm wrong about it, about this being the climax of the plot, and maybe it'll run for another 100 chapters, and she's going to rise up to defeat Isho himself in a direct competition.
She has to defeat the sexy boy.
That's right. She hasn't even done that yet. So,
it is a climax, and this was a good climax.
Yeah, climax to the first arc. Let's say that.
Yes,
and hopefully it'll keep doing well and getting more fun variety with the performances. Because I do like that with the introduction of the two rivals, they have like such radically different styles to her that we're getting like variety in the Rakugo. So that's cool. Anyway, going on. Next manga. We got The Elusive Samurai. And we also see the unseeable samurai with what's his name? Tokitsugu. Yeah. The furtive Tokitsugu. So easily forgotten.
This whole chapter is them retreating after
they gotta run away because Shibukawa is so powerful.
He challenged them, he's extremely powerful, they all back down and regroup. Then Tokiyuki is confronting, what's his name? Kotaro? Something with Ko.
Kojiro.
Being like, no, why did you do it? That was stupid. I need you. And also pointing out that his uncle was forcing him to do the thing. And then we finally get the sad backstory of why this dude is so desperate to shine.
Mean to his nephew. Yeah.
And then the chapter ends on them doing
getting ready
a second try
for the next battle.
So the first thing I wanted to point out is just this funny joke where in the middle of the everything, damn it, now I keep getting the names confused myself. I wanted to say Tokitsugu.
It's Tokitsugu is this one.
Oh right, yeah. Is it? Yes. Tokitsugu.
Yoritsugu is the youngest one, right?
Yes, and Yorishige is the grandpa.
Yes.
Getting to me. So Yorishige's son Tokitsugu did one sneak attack because he's basically invisible, but Shibukawa is so good that he deflected it and was like, who was that? Trying to attack me from the blind spot. And he was like, oh no.
I actually went directly for it. I wrote straight in.
Nobody noticed.
No one noticed him.
That's always a good.
Pretty funny.
I like
a running gag.
It
does.
Back.
I think I've said it before. It does make me kind of want to go back to the earlier chapters and see if he was always there with his dad, and we just never noticed him until his introduction.
The anime is just doing a flashback of all of the panels, like all of the important moments in the series. And back then he wasn't there, but then they just insert him back in.
They had him. You just didn't notice him.
Like, no, I was there the whole time, and every shot is getting more and more important, and every time he's closer to the camera. Like, what? You didn't notice me?
Yeah. So
I was
this kind of part where he's where Tokiyuki is berating the uncle of his buddy, and then he gets a sad backstory. I like that. That was kind of neat because I feel like it's common in this sort of story where there's like some character who was deposed from some position of power their family held. And then it will usually like portray the ones that they're trying to take it back from as being like completely bad, while their family's reign was completely good. Well, for example, in One Piece. Wano, They talked about how Odin was such a good shogun, but then once Kaido came in and replaced him with Hydra guy, Orochi, then everything went to shit. Then in this case, the uncle is like, yeah, well, my sister died and it was the fault of the Hojo clan. I still respect the Hojo clan, but it was totally the Hojo family's fault that my sister died.
We kind of already knew that Tokiyuki's clan was kind of shit because his dad was always depicted as being like half conscious, drooling, not really being there.
Leader,
he was pretty useless, and everybody was always talking about how the degenerate Hojo clan was deteriorating from inside. So it kind of makes sense to connect Kojiro's backstory to that circumstance.
Right, reminding us that the past wasn't always sunshine, and there are good reasons for guys like all the villains to join the other side.
Yeah, technically. I wasn't really a big fan of Kojiro riding into battle just because his uncles told him to be more of a main character because he hasn't done anything in a while. I think that's a little bit too meta, even if it wasn't really depicted that way. I'm reading it that way, and that's why it's
true.
You're
reading it. It wasn't meta if it wasn't literally.
At the very least, Tokiyuki got really excited about.
This part I was like, oh my god, Tokiyuki, you're getting too excited about the enemy's strong and huge sword. It's like, oh my god, you're too horny thinking about getting. Yeah,
love it.
Fighting
and
this
even
guy.
Gombe is wait, isn't that his name? I'm not on my A game today. Gonta?
That's alright. I always forget his name too.
God damn it. He's like
Fox guy.
Masked dude.
Yeah.
Small ninja.
Yeah. Small ninja.
We have a big ninja, we have a small ninja.
Yeah, he points out that Kojiro's fighting spirit is not the same as your perversity.
Pointing it out.
Yeah.
A lot of when they're conscious about Tokiyuki kind of being a pervert.
Tokiyuki is like sweating and blushing, like, oh, I'm just a small little goblin. I'll die with just one attack from Shibukawa's strong sword.
I only have 1 HP. I thought you were going to say, like, no, I'm just a little baby. I'm just a little birthday baby boy. Come on, you only hit me on my birthday, right?
No. He's not that because he wants them to try to hit him. The little birthday boy thing is please don't try to hit me.
It's a different thing. It's a different thing.
Slightly different perversity.
Both of them. Both of these memes are good. Bring them back. I want more of it. Bring them back.
Yeah, so
anyways,
Yorishige is like remembering the beach episode somehow.
Is he remembering it or is he imagining it?
He was remembering the Kyoto episode and thinking about how he wants them to have a beach episode.
Yes, and he specifically points out that he's looking at them in this scene with his father figure eyes. Yeah. And his father figure eyes are also kind of sweating and panting and fidgeting.
I don't think that's father figure in that case.
Wow, look at this Shoda jumping into the water, being half naked and close to other Shodas.
The future he sees. He loves it. But they got to get through this battle first. And they send out to challenge Shibukawa, the only guy who's strong enough to fight him.
Yes, with his incel powers.
Yeah, and I hope he does well. I hope he survives.
Let's see how this plays out.
It'd be sad if he died a virgin like Captain America.
They call it the showdown of two kings of self-motivation because both of them have these kind of really weird personalities that drive them to insane levels of power just because they kind of talk themselves into it. I think that's a good summary.
It is, yeah. It'll be interesting to see their battle. Yeah.
This chapter was fine. I gave it 63 points.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not as good as some other things we've read, but it's pretty good.
Things are moving on, but it's still a little bit boring.
They can't all be bangers like Witch Watch. Anyway, going on. Next manga is something that you haven't read.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was time for Pppp.
No, that's after this. Black Clover, chapter 335. Severance.
Tell me about Black Clover.
Severance, by the way, I hear it's a very good TV show on Apple TV. I haven't seen it yet. So this chapter is where it's after the angel form of the sister attacks Asta. Yeah. So now he's downed but not out, and he's really hurt because, you know, getting attacked by someone who he was in love with. It's pretty bad. And they're just kind of looking down at him. And then we get the requisite girl fight because there's a female enemy. So the main guy has got to get saved by.
He's not allowed to hit her.
Exactly. So they come in and they immediately get neutralized. It's like it's very pathetic for them.
Is that the girl that I'm supposed to like?
What's
on
that?
This page. This girl, is that the one that I'm supposed to like?
No. You're thinking about, I think her name is Mario Leon.
But she's making
the fire girl.
She's making a fire lion thing.
No, that's water. I think this is Noelle and Mimosa. So they have water powers and plant powers. And initially they were both really weak, but then they got quite powerful as the series went on. So she creates this gigantic water dragon, and it's like, wow, that's a really big attack. And then the sister, she just creates a big cube, and it disappears. And they say, oh, that's spatial magic. So presumably she like teleported it away somewhere, and it's just gone. And then she also creates another big cube to freeze the girls in place so they can't attack her.
Ace is powerful.
She's very powerful. Somehow they can move in the cube, but they can't attack. Like they try to cast spells and they just fizzle. So I don't know how that's spatial magic to be able to make spells not work. But that's how it is. And one of the girls asks Lucius, like, what are you doing? What's your plan? Last week, he had kind of explained that his big plan is that he's going to destroy all humans and then use his power to recreate everyone to be equal, except for him, because he's going to be the new Wizard King and rule over
everybody's
everyone.
Equal, but some people are a little bit more equal than others.
Some people are a little bit more equal. And then this time, he explains a bit further that he had stolen the powers of all of the devils in hell somehow.
Oh no, isn't that kind of like a speed run?
Yeah.
Well, isn't he like I assume devils were already introduced.
Yeah, devils were already introduced.
And
he's now got all
probably
of them.
knew that there were still a lot of them left, and he's just announcing that he got all of them.
Yes, yeah, he announces he got all of them, and his other part of his plan is that he is going to use his soul magic to purify all the devils and then give their powers to humans that he's changed with his soul powers the way he did to the sister. Mm-hmm. And they will be the replacement for magic knights, and they'll be called paladins. And being combined with devils will give them more power, and they'll be higher life forms like himself. So now he's like, oh, everyone will be equal except for me. Actually, everyone will be equal except for me and my minions. I give devil powers. So it's like there's beginning to be a bit more of a hierarchy than it sounded like when they first said, "Oh, everyone will be equal."
Listen, it's a plan that's still in progress. I'm still working on it.
He literally says, "I think I'll call them paladins, and I think I'll call myself the Wizard Emperor." It's like, oh, you are really just making this up on the fly, aren't you? And then the paladin version of the sister tells Asta that she's sorry, but he's gonna have to die for the sake of world peace. And he's laying there like, I'm not done yet. And then she hits him with the teleport thing, and he vanishes. So presumably, like, she teleported him away somewhere. She assumes
vanishing to training arc time skip island.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Because you didn't watch the Loki TV series, did you?
Nah.
So
I know all about it.
Okay, well, there's a part in that where the bad guys teleport Loki away to somewhere that they assume he'll die.
Yes, and then there he meets all of his alternate versions.
Yeah, he meets some
like
alternate versions of himself,
Loki,
and
baby
it's really
Loki,
dumb.
and
But
old guy Loki.
He does kind of get stronger there somehow. So yeah, I assume that sort of thing is going to happen here, except that it's not a multiverse story, so there's probably not going to be like a bunch of alternate versions of Asta there. But yeah, definitely he's been teleported away to a new training arc, even though everyone else immediately assumes that he's dead. Because the other magic knights are like, oh no, she teleported Asta away. I can't believe she killed him.
Is that maybe because only we know that Asta is the main character and everybody else is kind of like, oh, he's probably the guy on the team?
Yeah, because a lot of other people are still like, oh, he's that guy who's good without having magic powers. He's kind of like the Katana Man, come to think of it. He doesn't have his own he doesn't have his own mana. He can't generate magic, but he's got a really good magic tool, being his 4-leaf grimoire that can summon anti-magic. He's a little bit like that. And then the rest of the... Okay, so here's the picture of Asta being teleported away. He's gone. And everyone's like, no, he's gone.
That's very uneventful.
Yes. So his last words before getting disappeared is, sister, I swear I'll save you. And he's gone. And the rest of the Magic Knight captains show up.
All of the cool guys.
All the cool guys, yeah. So these are the people who are like consistently like 10 times stronger than Asta.
It's the toilet guy.
Yeah, it's the toilet guy. He's great. I feel like he must be a fan favorite character. I see him a lot. And he's Asta's direct superior. Like he's the guy that Asta reports
He's
to.
Asta's eraser head.
Yeah, basically. He's Asta's Eraserhead.
His Kakashi.
Yes. And I feel like he's got better characterization than a lot of the other ones. Like I think last week I said that so many of the characters in this series are like flanderized from the moment of appearance, and they just don't get a lot of depth to them.
I think that's mainly because the series is painted by the numbers. It's it has all of the shonen tropes to follow.
I think also that they just have
doing a mashup of them.
They have too many characters. There's just too many people to focus on. But he's got some more stuff going on, so he's more interesting. And they show up, and Julius, or they recognize him as looking like Julius, even though he's Lucius. He's his evil brother in his own body, I guess. And he does the Aizen thing, he teleports away when all the captains...
He's doing it almost exactly the same.
I know, he even kind of looks at them sideways. I was like, oh, I've seen this before. And I forget to look back, but I'm wondering, did Aizen's teleportation also have this shape of the teleporter? Because it was the Grand Menos, right? But they kind of have... No, it's different. They kind of have a more toothy looking teleport.
I'm not sure, but I do know
Either
that
way,
he had the
teleporting
kind of like,
with something closing in front of you is while
on
you
his
look
eyes,
at your
especially.
while you look at your former friends. It's very Aizen-like.
Yes.
And he screams out the name of Julius because he's like, that's the Wizard King. It's his body, but it's not him. And I noticed on the page before, so you see this one captain with the burned face down here?
I thought that was just like a shadow or something.
No, he's got a burned face. So this guy was actually a major villain earlier on in the part that I was reading. So I was reading this. So I've been slowly filling in the blank space, the void century of Black Clover.
So now you got spoiled on this guy becoming a good guy.
Yeah, I got spoiled on this guy becoming a good guy. Well, the thing is, he initially was introduced as a good guy. And the way he becomes a bad guy, they reveal that he has a second personality that comes out, and it changes the way he looks, and he no longer has the burn. And his hair becomes longer, kind of like how when Lucius turns from Julius, his hair turns darker, so he looks similar but a little bit different, and then also is very evil. And I'm like, it's like poetry, it rhymes. And also that when he turned evil, he slashed Julius, and Julius fell down, and everyone thought he was dead. And Yami, this guy, held him and screamed, "Julius!" Like, oh, it's very
much poetry.
Very much too much. It's poetry.
Stop rhyming.
Yeah, it's rhyming and alliterating. It's doing all of the. So no. This is too much of taking both from other things and from itself. And also, I didn't really like that when the sister had her soul changed, then her personality changed way too much to be completely different. Like, it would have been.
I would have liked inside her now. It's not herself anymore.
It's not herself. I would have liked if she were a bit more similar to her previous self, but just just on the other side. But it's a bit too strong of a change.
Can this be maybe summarized to, like, from my perspective, who never really watched or read Black Clover, just looked at it a little bit and drew my own conclusions on why I don't like reading it? Is it because I said it's a mashup of all of the shonen tropes, and it's only using all of them without, like, subverting them maybe and doing something new and different? It's just all of the tropes, but with different colors and different flavors, but no new innovations. Is that maybe the reason why?
Basically, yeah. I think that it's a pretty generic manga. I like the drawings.
A lot of people always complain about Black Clover, and the most consistent comment on all of the Weekly Shonen Jump threads are that Black Clover is mid and that it needs to end. And when anything gets announced to end, they always like, "Oh, is it Black Clover?"
Well, the thing is that I would agree that Black Clover is mid, because the writing is very mid. I do really like the art though, but the thing is that it's mid when currently in the magazine there's multiple series that are just straight up bad.
Yes.
So no, this does not deserve to end. There's other things that deserve to end, and thank goodness are ending. But not quite to that yet. Let's move on so you can tell me about Pppp.
So you were just talking about alliteration, right?
Yes.
And things that rhyme.
Yeah.
Look at this panel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then go to the next one.
Wow, it's this is like going from the English version to the Japanese version of a cover. It's the same picture, but a little bit different.
It's several pages apart, so that's the thing. You're supposed to like flip the page and go like, "Oh, it's the same." And I guess that's sometimes very effective. I don't think it is here. A lot of people were really excited about Melonin and Mimin kind of becoming lesbians with each other. That's the whole point of this chapter. Mimin. God, these names are so similar. Mimin asks Sorachika what Melonin's song was, which she played, because it kind of just distorted the space visually. But Sorachika has the ability to read between the lines and read what people are trying to express. And he was like, no, she was asking you to be her number one because she kind of like, she's in love with you, basically. And she was like, I don't get it. I can only, I can't relate to anybody else in the world. I only know about myself. I don't know what anything else is except myself. And I guess if it makes Melonin happy, then I guess I'll tell her that she is my number one if that's what she wants. And then Melonin is like, so like, oh shit, she said it. I guess that means I'm in love with her now too.
She loves me too. Wow.
That's basically the whole situation. I'm badly characterizing it, but that's basically what stayed in my memory.
Right.
It's a little bit more nuanced, but that's the summary.
Yeah.
Mimin won the competition. It wasn't one of those things where only she gave her one vote, and then Mimin. I mean, Melanie was like, "Oh no, the one vote was that yours?" And she's like, "Yes, that was me." And I think that would have been more impactful, but at the same time, Melanie is written to be like one of the top pianists in the world, so that's why she would never just get one vote. With a room full of people. Either way, next battle is starting, and that's Sorachika fighting this dude whose name I keep forgetting. What's his name? Sadame?
Sadame.
He never had anything going on besides like looking from the back lines and being kind of like chipper about it.
He exists. And now
he exists. He has long hair. That's all I can tell about him. And Fanta is like, oh, that's too bad. You're going to play against Sorachika, who's like excellent. You can't win again. So, and he just smiles because maybe
Sorachika will lose. And this guy's.
Yes, but do you know what that would mean if Sorachika was losing? That would mean that they won the tournament, and then basically Fanta's plan is all ruined, which is.
Well, that would be an end to the series.
He would be immediately beaten, which would be so weird, because normally in Shonen Jump, you always have to make it like, if you win first, then you lose the next few rounds, and you lose so hard that you have to pull off all of the everything you can do. You go to your limits, break through the limits, and then maybe you get a really close win.
Yeah.
Right? And right now they're completely leading, and they're leading so hard that whatever happens in the next two battles, it'll just end up being a draw.
Right.
So it's kind of like, at this point, it doesn't really matter what they do. They already kind of
just go to sleep for a month and then come back and see the final showdown.
Anyway, so it kind of it doesn't really have any steam in it from my perspective. I said it's bad. It's 20 points. Moving on.
Moving on. Manga. Roboco. Chapter 102. Photo albums in Roboco. So this is a Roboco-centered story, and
yes, unfortunately,
it was. I thought it was actually all right for a Roboco-centered story. Yeah, it was.
It was a fine chapter.
Yeah, some weird stuff going on. Explaining Roboco's backstory.
Bondo finds photo albums, multiple, inside Roboco's closet where she sleeps, kind of like Doraemon. And he thought she would be against the idea of him looking through them because there's definitely some secret info inside. And indeed, there's secret info.
Yeah, like some really surprising info. Like she was a baby.
The funny bit in this panel here is that she's the kind of person who would tell you to watch something because it's really good.
Oh, right. They just sit next to you, watching your reaction instead of watching the thing. Wasn't that talked about in Goodbye Eri?
Yeah.
Yeah. Put them in the theater next to Eri and the protagonist from that, and Denji and Makima and everyone else who's watching stuff together.
What I love about this panel is that normally Bondo would point it out how she's too close and how she's doing the thing that everybody hates.
She's too focused because of the photo album itself.
It's just a background joke that kind of just makes Roboco look like an asshole, and everybody understands that she's an asshole. And
we already know what this means.
Yes, we already know, and I love it because
the audience.
It's just there, and it's funny just being there. I love that kind of joke.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to point it out. Then we get all of the stages of Roboco growing up, which is weird because she's a robot. And
yeah, is she?
Is she?
She's half dragon after all.
I forgot about that. Did I have something to say about this? No, it's just her.
No, just her growing up, and her knees are already.
She does say it's he shouldn't know about why that's the case, right?
Yes.
And in the next ones where she says she was in school because they had so many tests, it's gotta be school, right?
Right.
That was a funny joke, haha. Still, it kind of where the subtitle of this photo is they're trying to find out if she's a robot or not. Throwing in way more mysteries.
Yes.
The question is, what is she?
It appears to be constructed from an indestructible material not found anywhere on Earth. And
when she escaped, and the photos taken of her kind of like this feels like an SCP file where they found let's say they found a piece of art like the sculpture in the corner, and then they just took the PNG and put it on a transparent background. And now you can paste it into stuff, and this feels like where she's moving away from the burning lab. It feels like they just put the PNG in there, and I like that.
It's great. It's her history, her rebellious days. That's leading up to her going to war and meeting Bando's dad and Millie.
And her sister, who we always forget exists.
Yeah, I always forget about her.
I'm a little well, what's the correct phrase for this emotion? I don't like that this chapter is kind of like doing the main quest of the series, if there is even any, because what I like about Roboco is that it usually doesn't really have a main quest line.
Well, it's just I'm fine with it happening here and there.
But it's been happening a lot lately, like with the other assassin showing up and trying to drag her back to the organization.
Do you think that it's actually going to turn into a battle manga?
See, that's the problem. A lot of I've seen people who are like, "Yes, finally, the main plot. I know that I knew it all along that this was going to happen." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Roboco isn't like that, and now it's doing the thing that I hate."
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm the stupid one.
Well, we'll see in the next few weeks. I highly doubt that it's gonna like increase the density of main plot storyline. I think that they're still gonna do lots of just slice of life jokey stuff.
I hope so.
I don't think that Roboco is going to move into becoming like Roboco Z. And then we get into the more recent photo albums.
Yes, that's where things become even more suspicious, because suddenly there's photos that Bando doesn't remember what happened here. We didn't do this. And this is my middle school
and high school exams
ceremony. What's this all about? And then all of the stuff that might happen in the near future, where you can clearly see, like, picking his middle school entrance and him being in middle school and failing the entrance exam for the high school. You can clearly tell how old he's supposed to be just by the school uniform.
Yeah.
But that's forbidden knowledge. He wasn't supposed to know this.
Yeah.
So that's why she knocks him out. And then it, as if he didn't see the photo album at all. I thought that the main joke of this thing was going to be, who is the photographer?
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that at all. But
it never got pointed out how these photos were taken. Because Roboco is in all of the photos herself.
Yeah. And
So
there's
that
even
means
photos
she
where you
didn't
think
take the
nobody would
photos.
take a picture. Like
Yes.
Roboco escaped. We couldn't stop her.
She's on a level that no
How
human
mysterious.
can control
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah, I was. It was a nice subversion of my expectations. Let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was all right. Not as funny as Roboco usually is, but
Yeah.
I have lower expectations whenever I see that Roboco is going to be the main character of a chapter.
Yeah,
So I was fine with it. I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good for a backstory kind of chapter.
Right. So I gave it 60 points.
All right. Yeah, just all right. Going on, we got something that has not backstory, but lots and lots of new plot going on.
Yes, progress.
Super smartphone.
So sugoi. This whole chapter starts with the activities of all of the other super smartphone holders.
Mm-hmm.
And people talking about all of these recent things that have been going on.
Yes, this is like this is when the news starts reporting on stuff on Kira killing all the criminals.
Yes,
the normies noticing the happenings due to the supernatural things.
Some of the things that get introduced, like for instance, the streamer girl,
yeah.
revealing all of this stuff,
mm-hmm.
and the other YouTuber girl confronting her haters.
Yes.
Doesn't that immediately point a target on them?
Yes.
Because they are.
I was gonna say it's
figures.
funny because the first thing they say is the normies are like, "Oh, shady things have been happening," and they go through all of these, and of course, it's all super smartphone related.
Right.
But the first thing they say is the stuff that Zenichiro and Imura are doing, which is like manipulating companies and governments. It's like, oh, that's really big scale, like evil stuff. And then the second is Q being a good guy and like getting scammers arrested. And I'm like, hey, why would you put that under shady things happening? That's good. And then there's stuff that's so petty that you think you wouldn't mention it in the same breath as suicides from politicians and business leaders, which is there's some YouTubers who have been like weirdly good at shutting down their haters online.
Yeah. I just feel like that's really dangerous to do as YouTubers and streamers when you have a super smartphone, because anybody who's looking for other smartphone holders will immediately find out that they are the ones. You could just turn on their channels with the smartphone.
And your smartphone wouldn't show. Yeah, the super smartphone wouldn't show them.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the one thing that the other main character is doing is just like,
I found a treasure. Yeah. And I like that.
Can we get it?
I feel like that's realistic for a teenage boy. It's like, oh, I heard about some treasure buried in this place. I'm going to use my smartphone to look it up.
I like that. And
that's why I think I said last week, this guy and the singer, they seem like more of the main character than Q.
Yeah. He's the real main character.
Yeah. So it goes on to something that presumably is Zenichiro's doing. And I'm like, oh, this is so evil. They're making him behind cancel culture and doxing. Where they reveal that he's been running a website that posts people who are annoying but haven't done anything that could get them in legal trouble yet.
Yeah.
Then,
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Zenichiro.
Yeah. Well, it shows him right there, which is kind of funny because it feels kind of like it would be under him to do that sort of thing when he's already like manipulating governments and other businesses. Like,
and there's so many other
showing
characters
Zenichiro, but it feels more like it would be something that one of the Shadow Men from last time would be doing.
Exactly.
They seem very lower level because they're both students, right? So it'd be more of something that like a kid's sense of of justice. You know, it would be
one of them is in high school, one of them is in middle school, and it might as well even be one of the other people who have a super smartphone. But Zenichiro really isn't the kind of person who I would have expected to do this kind of stuff on top of the other stuff that he's already doing. Yes,
he's trying to subvert the society.
I don't like it. Yeah. This is kind of a little bit too close to reality, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's watched that Call of Duty ad. Oh, you don't remember the Call of Duty ad about subverting societies? They were playing clips from so the latest Call of Duty game, or no, not the latest one, the one before the latest one, Call of Duty Cold War. Then to advertise it, because it is a Cold War story, they played clips in the ad that was from a ex-KGB guy talking about the way that the KGB operated, and they would go in and destabilize countries by like going in and subverting their culture.
Yes.
Yeah. So Zenichiro has watched that Call of Duty ad. He knows what to do.
I see.
So that's what's going on here. It just seems like I don't feel like it would be something that he'd spend his time on when he's already doing this. It's like Zenichiro runs a big company and Imura is a medical student. So then the two of them between each other are blackmailing people, forcing people to commit suicide, and also running a website that doxes people.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you guys have so much free time.
I guess he's just so rich that he doesn't have to work all of the time. Then he can spend more time on pouring huge glasses of wine and creating websites that are bullshit.
Yeah. Where is his wine glass? It doesn't show up here.
Maybe
missing character in Super Smartphone this week.
Maybe you see how he's sitting in something, and there's the black. Maybe it's a huge glass. It's just in the very front of the camera, and we're looking through the glass at him. That's why it's so round at the bottom. So we get another look at the police trying to do stuff, and this feels like a criticism of bureaucracy, as Japan sometimes likes to do, kind of like in Shin Godzilla, where part of the bad thing isn't Godzilla.
It's how bureaucracy long it takes to get people to stop them.
Yes. So these stupid politicians and police people are too caught up in trying to find the correct name for their committee that's dealing with super smartphones, that they don't get to the point of dealing with the super smartphones. And the one person who's kind of in the know and would kind of be able to do something is like, that's pointless anyway, because she has figured out, Sewamizu has figured out that the super smartphones are beyond what a normal human can do.
So she's witnessed it. She's witnessed it destroying itself very, very magically. It floats up into the air and then turns to dust.
Yeah, so that's why the scene is also kind of pointless, because it doesn't really add anything new. We know that the police is
It's just a reminder that Sewamizu is being considered very important now because of her knowledge.
Right, and that the rest of the police is useless.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Q is getting all depressed.
He's still depressed.
Yeah, because Mora died. And he's like, it's going to be my fault if any other people die because
he's depressed that people got killed because of him. And he doesn't want to use the smartphone anymore, because maybe if he does something, then maybe more people get killed.
Which is...
Weird
thing to be depressed at. Yeah, because he's...
The high-rise incident.
Yeah, he knows about that stuff being caused by other smartphone users. So instead of being like, I can't use it anymore, he should be like, I need to stop them from using it.
Yes. So a lot of people have already died because he wasn't as skillful and
he wasn't as proactive.
resourceful as he should. Like, he's blaming himself for not being capable of stopping Zenichiro, right?
Yeah.
He didn't do that in the high-rise incident, but he's doing that now with Moura, and I hate it that he's doing it with Moura.
Yeah.
I don't want Moura's face floating in the clouds.
He didn't get all depressed when people who are neighbors of his friends got killed. But he's getting all depressed when this asshole thief got killed.
The world is better without Moura.
Oh,
a bunch of people who died in the high-rise incident probably shouldn't have died.
Yeah, that's right. But his childhood friend, whose name I always forget, comes to cheer him up.
Goes to bed with him and does the unthinkable of lying next to him. Very, very erotic.
Mm-hmm.
She tries to motivate him again to not be depressed anymore. And he gets up. And it works. Like, that's right, I can't be depressed anymore.
She tells him, rather than run away from everyone, you should live together with people, even when times get tough. And then she leaves. And he's like, yeah.
Without even giving him a handy?
With her girl flesh pressing against my body, I've come to the realization that yes, I should live together with people. So he gets up, and a weird thing happens, which is he talks to his super smartphone, and she calls him the delegate of destiny, and is like, I'm pleased with you coming to the realization that you should use these abilities to fight. And I'm like, this is a weird internal monologue from an AI that had previously claimed to not be truly sentient, right?
We know that that's not true.
Yeah, that's it's like, lie. You just lied to.
These AIs are definitely sentient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They all have different personalities.
We also get some detective work from Imura.
Yes, this is the only
part
that I liked, because this is
I want more of this.
One thing. This is the one thing I like about Super Smartphone, is that they explain how they came to certain conclusions, which is how do they track down Q.
Even shows a map with like the circles of this is the range of where you could bike to this location in the amount of time that he got there.
Yeah,
and these are the trains where turnstiles open with nobody being seen on the video. So this is the area that he must have been in.
He's not able to see Q, but he's looking at everything else.
He's just like the katana old man.
Katana!
Katana! That's Imura, just shouting katana while discovering where Q is. Yeah, I like this. And you remember the Capture the Flag episode of Internet Historian?
Yes.
That's what this reminded me of, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
If we just had like an entire series, it was just all this. Like Super Smartphone needs more of this.
That would be so good.
It would be great. Yeah.
More of this, less of whatever Moura was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Get Shia LaBeouf up in here. So the final page is Q gets tracked down after Imura is like searching for him, but he's like, I haven't quite pinned him down. But the real main characters show up, and they have actually pinned him down.
These two are such main characters.
They are such main characters. I'm afraid that they're gonna get killed off because they're too much cooler than Q.
Damn, that might be true.
Yeah, but they show up, and I was thinking it's kind of funny because earlier it showed like Zenichiro and Imura. They're like, they're so pro at it. They're doing so many shady things, like screwing with politics and business. And then these two, they were like doing really petty stuff. Like the guy is like, I'm gonna like hunt for treasure, and the girl is like, I'm going to shame my haters online,
doxing them.
But it shows that even though they were not doing anything that important, they are apparently also very, very smart and could figure out how to use the smartphones well enough to find Q.
Yes. I want next chapter to show us how they found him.
Me too, yeah.
Because it has to be
a whole chapter of Capture the Flag.
Has to be a completely different way from what Imura was doing. And
yeah, you know what I would like to see for this is that Imura takes a longer time because he's over-reliant on the cell phone itself and only using data from that. But then I would like to see if like these two, they got some broad general data. Like, oh, here's like stuff that the Nichiro already saw. Like, oh, there's his bike and things like that. And then they just went to the other kids and started talking to them and just did like traditional detective work in addition to super smartphone detective stuff. And then that's how they found him. I would like that. We'll see next
Would be
week.
nice. I'm excited
Overall,
for what's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like this series. So the title of the chapter is it's second phase, and I am pretty hopeful for the second phase because of all the new characters they've introduced.
Right. This chapter gets 59 points from me, one less than Roboco.
Yeah.
Still fine.
It's fine. It's better. I think this is better than Super Smartphone normally is.
Sometimes it has more of those Imura explanations, so that's better.
That's how you're going to rate it. How many explanations are there per chapter?
Yes.
Yeah. But
if it was,
as I said,
if it was full of text,
continue to be
just like with Hunter x Hunter
next week. You're right. Yeah.
That would be great.
But this one is it's made by 2 people, so one person can just completely focus on the art. So we won't get stuff like Hunter x Hunter where there's just the scribbles because he didn't.
Sometimes it's okay to just deliver scribbles.
Mm-hmm.
As long as
I
the
prefer
story
when
is really good.
there's actual art. Anyway, going on. Speaking of scribbles, something that might as well look like scribbles.
No! Prettiest scribbles.
Aliens area. Yeah, this is.
Are we saying it's aliens?
Chapter 12. Are we? It was aliens. So yeah, the main character is back. There he is. We haven't seen Sharaku doing anything for a while, but here he's back, and they're just patrolling, just looking at aliens, and he goes,
no, worse, they aren't patrolling. They are on their way home because they were working in the office the whole day. And just when they were about to go home, they spot these aliens.
Yeah, and Sharaku looks at him and he's just like, that's an alien! And Tatsumi turns on his lens and turns out, yeah, correct. That's an alien, and he's got 2 alien buddies with him. So the way Sharaku explains like how he guessed that these guys are aliens, he says, look at that distant, unfocused gaze, the posture that doesn't match the physique and clothing. And like, it could just be otaku.
Yeah.
I feel like that description, there's a lot of nerds who walk around like that too.
You know what would be really good if he was doing that, telling him like, look at that dude, look at him, that's an alien.
And then go and talk to him, and he's not.
Tatsumi turns it on, and he's like, nah, that's an old
100% human.
But then he spots.
That would be great.
It would be funny if then he spots the actual alien who's kind of nearby. Like now that he's turned on his lenses, now he sees somebody else. That would be really funny. Now that you mention it.
Yeah. Put us in, coach. Let us be the editor for this series.
So all of these aliens go into something that they call a snack lounge in English, which is kind of... I don't know if that's weird.
What it is.
I would just said it's a bar because...
Yeah, it looks like a bar when they go inside. It looks like one of those bars that they sing karaoke in Yakuza.
I kind of don't know why there's this specific differentiation between those, but as I understand it, because I've been walking around Tokyo for a little bit, and you relatively often see signs that say something like snack Yoshiko or snack Kumie or something, and these are the very small bars that are owned by one woman who's the bartender, and you go there because like, oh, it's so nice to see her and
hang out with her and
drink, and I don't even know, she gives you snacks. I think that's just an Anglicism
Just
where
drinks.
they were like trying to find a cool name in the
Yeah.
70s, and
Snack
we're like,
sounds
yeah,
good.
snack, that sounds good. And I don't know if those
It's
are
really just a small bar.
it's a small bar with one person behind the counter that you really relate to, I guess. I think that's the main differentiation between saying snack or bar. Probably. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
Yeah, I don't know enough about bars or snacks to tell you either way, but they
But
follow the
pay
aliens
attention.
in and
Pay
like,
attention. If you see that sometimes in manga and anime,
next time I go to
watch out for
Japan,
snack, and if it's just one woman behind the bar.
I'll have to replay some Yakuza games and see how many times that happens.
Yes.
Because they go inside, and indeed it's just one woman behind the bar, and
He's an asshole.
New faction unlocked. It's the people who know about aliens and kind of work with them, but refuse to work with them. Yeah, they refuse to work with the men in black, and she's really just doesn't want to talk to them at all.
I hate her. She's Sharaku asks her questions, right? He's a police officer.
Yeah.
And he could just have her arrested or have her memory wiped. He has total authority.
He even threatens it there that they've got the memory eraser thing.
Yes, and she does her thing where she's like, I sometimes do stuff without a reason. And then he's like, wait, that's just avoiding the question. I want to know what that is. And then she's like, I'm saying if you want a reason for stuff, that means you're an asshole. And I think that is an asshole.
Yeah.
If you don't do stuff for reasons, if you just do stuff because you feel like doing them, like, this one time I kind of kicked the dog. Why did you do that? I just felt like I didn't have a reason for it.
Yeah, that's bad.
Why did you steal the thing? No reason?
Anti-motivation.
I don't like that.
Or
some people are like that.
To people saying that you don't have a reason. You always have a reason. It's just a lot. Or maybe it's admitting that you have a stupid reason. Like, the reason it's so stupid of a reason that I'm not even going to say it.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
Then Tatsumi has some interesting questions. Where he's like, wait, if you hate the Men in Black so much because they don't care for aliens and just arrest them, I've seen the Men in Black do good stuff, so like, what's up with that? And then Sharaku's like, yeah, we're not that
always.
Good. We're not the baddies, but we're not that good. And then she drops something that feels like criticism of real life stuff, where you're not switching the page. You have to go to the next page, where they talk about how it's really
Japan is a hassle.
Yes, being in Japan as a foreigner, as an alien, is an immense hassle.
Yeah,
and I don't
like a metaphor for real life.
And that, I mean, on some, it's kind of true. You do have
I've heard a lot of people talk about how it's difficult to emigrate to Japan.
You do get some hurdles in your way if you really want to emigrate, but if you do, you just need to follow the bureaucracy, and eventually it'll work out.
Yeah,
that's kind of a relief if you think about it that way, because there's countries where that doesn't even work,
right?
And they don't have law and order, and maybe you get killed.
Well, those are places that you don't want to immigrate to anyway.
Yes, so it's I don't know. I want more of a back and forth where people weigh the arguments for and against.
You're right, because Sharaku is really kind of rolling over on it. He's like,
he's admitting that it's bad, and he's just like, yeah, it's our job, but it's job bad. What can we do about it?
Yeah, you should come back against it. That would
make for a more interesting comparison.
Conversation.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because the way she talks about it is like really high and mighty. She's on a high horse and being like,
oh yeah,
no,
she's very much on a high horse, and
this is bad, and that's why I have to do
especially
this.
considering Tatsumi is the new guy, you'd think Sharaku would be like, I gotta make us look good for the new guy, or he's gonna want to quit. But he doesn't do any of that, which is really disappointing. The other thing I want to say is that she says that she recognizes the scars on their forehead as being those of people who have had alien stuff implanted in them.
Suddenly,
and she's like, oh, don't erase my memory, or I won't be able to tell you about that. I have information that even you don't have. So first of all, I'm like, well, what's stopping them from like asking her for the information and then be like, oh, we lied, we're gonna erase your memory anyway. Second of all, it's like, it's reminding me of how weird the pacing of the story is. Because it goes from the first chapter where it's like, I have a superpower. And then aliens attack him, and he's like, oh, that's where I got my superpower from. And then a secret organization saves him, and he starts working for them. And then they immediately foil an intergalactic assassination plot. Like, that's the first big mission. And then from that very quick rising action, then it goes back down to, oh, we're going to give out parking tickets.
Yes.
And then it goes to, oh, we're going to train you with new equipment. And now, after 12 chapters, it's like, oh, maybe we're going to learn something about your superpower that we've shown a couple times, but not really ever discussed.
But only
I think it's normal for a story to have like rising and falling arcs of it.
Right.
But this is like a precipitous drop after a way too quick rise.
Yes.
It was like shot up and then fell down and then was just flat for a while. And then now they're like, okay, I guess we're going to begin rising the action again with some info about the implants, which I had almost forgotten about because they had been focused so much on the equipment the past couple months.
On Twitter, somebody when last week when we knew that Doron Dororon was going to end, and we didn't know which one the second series that's going to end was going to be. Most people were very convinced that it was going to be Earthchild, and we're right. But somebody was kind of like weighing the options and was like, is there any possibility that Aliens area might end also in the next chapter? And I really couldn't say that there was anything stopping Aliens area from ending, because up until this chapter
is only just beginning.
Yeah, up until this chapter where she's mentioning stuff that's kind of like the main plot. Who put the transplant into Tatsumi?
Right.
Because that's the only thing that's stopping the series from really ending. It's from ending, because
it's the equivalent of who killed Akane, or why did Isho kill Akane's dad? It's
basically, it's only one issue
from the first chapter. That's all
and
that
if
matters.
It doesn't get answered, might as well just end. Obviously, there are merits to a series that doesn't answer the main question, and you can go on and on and on without pursuing who the black organization is that killed, that shrunk Conan. But at the same time, there really isn't much in Aliens area that I can see would make them want it to continue further than what's offered right now.
Yeah. So
because right now it's such a nothing series. It's just petty police work where the only interesting thing is that sometimes it's aliens, and the aliens mostly look like humans.
I would be fine with this if it was 100% petty police work but with aliens. If it were consistently funny and interesting, but a lot of times it's just kind of boring. So yeah, I would not give this series high marks, and I would not be surprised if it gets canceled soon.
You know, if we
cry over it if it got canceled soon.
If we took out all of the alien transplant thing and the superpowers and the gadgets that we get, and not even have a secret organization, just be like, oh, aliens are real, and we sometimes have to deal with them.
This is the alien cops.
It's kind of like that would be like Gintama or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe, do you remember the series that ended, started and ended relatively recently? What was it?
Hard-boiled
Shark
dolphin.
and Dolphin.
Yeah.
That was kind of that, except the aliens were fish people, and sometimes it wasn't even fish people. It was just like a cop on an island, cop agings. That was it.
So there's precedence for that sort of thing that could be fun in this Shonen Jump weekly format, but
you know what? Yeah. That series bombed because it pursued the main quest of who is this child and who's the secret organization and why is this dude a dolphin, because they transplanted his brain into a dolphin dude. That was the downfall of it. They introduced superpowers like underwater kung fu, where you do the thing where you do a one-handed clap that generates enough energy to send a shockwave through the water, and
Fishman karate.
Yes, it was so. It was completely against what the first chapter introduced, which was just Gintama on an island in modern day.
Fish people. Yeah.
With fish people.
Yeah, missed opportunities both times. Maybe they should have the hard-boiled dolphin guy come in and team up with the Aliens area people to make it better. Be like, learn from those lessons. Make it more like Gintama.
Who knows if he maybe suggests to move on to the main plot?
Oh no,
because that's the wrong mistake advice he made, and he didn't realize that was the mistake.
He didn't know. He didn't learn his lesson. Anyway, yeah. Did you give this one a number?
Actually 65, because the art is bad, had lots of missed opportunities, but I kind of like how they connected to some real life stuff that you could talk about, even if it's not well done. I don't know why I'm so lenient with this.
You're way
might as well just be chapter 54. Actually.
Oh, one more thing I want to say about it is the aliens they follow into the bar are eating cat food. Yeah, they look really dumb. Just like the ninja one, they're eating cat food. I'm like, is this a running gag? And is this a District 9 reference? Because did you see
turning it into a running gag?
Because in District 9, the aliens eat cat food.
Well, then it must be a reference, because a lot of people. I know a lot of people in Japan love District 9, and I hate it. Yeah. I hate that movie. I hate the director. I hate everything he's making. I
watched that movie because I liked the Halo ads that the director did. He did some live action Halo ads. They were pretty good. And then I liked District 9. I thought it was pretty cool. And then I saw his follow-up movie that had Matt Damon in it. And it was one of the stupidest sci-fi movies I've ever seen. And then I didn't even watch his robot movie. I was like, after the Matt Damon movie, I'm like, I have to trust in this guy anymore.
Let me be Isho Arakawa here and ask you, like, can you really say that District 9 was good?
Who knows? Maybe I enjoyed it at the time. But yeah, maybe I was just blinded at the time. I was like, oh, it's like Halo. Because I'm a Halo fan. I like District 9. Once he moved further away from Halo, he didn't.
You were just clapping because clapping because Halo.
Yeah. In the movie with Matt Damon, he gives him one of those exoskeletons like Tom Cruise has in the what's that movie called? The one based on the manga where they're fighting aliens.
Live, Die, Repeat.
All you need is kill. Yeah. Then the manga is All You Need Is Kill. Which I think the art for that was done by the guy who did Bakuman.
Really?
I think the art was. I want to say it was originally a light novel, and then they got a pro manga artist to redraw it.
Really?
I think it was the Bakuman artist. I think. I'd have to look at it.
Never read it. I don't know what it looks like. All I can think of is, wasn't it the Blame
It's really good. Yeah. Huh?
Wasn't it the Blame guy? The Blame guy?
I don't think so. Whatever. I'll check after the show.
Okay, check it.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. We got some
Final manga.
Finally got Earthchild. This is the second to last chapter of Earthchild. Wait. They've already announced it. One more chapter after this, then it's done. So this chapter, it's called Exclusive Family Trip. Where's the exclusive family trip going? It's going to Death's Waiting Room. And it's a really stupid way that they got there, because you'll remember before when Reisuke was in Death's Waiting Room.
Yes.
His body was like dying on the beach, right?
He was already dead.
Yeah. This time, how do they get to Death's Waiting Room?
The worst.
They completely vaporize their bodies. And so they disappear completely. Everyone else looks and they're like, they're gone. But they didn't teleport. The explanation is that they were disassembled down to molecular level. But it's okay, because all of their molecules still have the mom and the son's psychic energy attached to them. So they can still be reformed later if they win the dialogue options with Earth-chan.
See, I keep saying every week that this is the worst. This is the worst. This is the absolute worst. They could have done so many things, right? They have telekinesis, and maybe even telepathy, and maybe some other things. I thought what they were doing in the final panel of the final page of the last chapter, I thought they were creating some kind of illusion for the Earth.
Yeah.
They
use the telekinesis because they talk to each other from space to Earth. So.
Yes, and in the telepathy of Kareri when she was a stone in Earth's orbit, that was her being herself with this tiny sphere, right?
Yeah,
the glowing sphere.
Yes, that's right.
But that was just a visualization. That was her So it wasn't real. It was just an illusion.
A visualization.
Yes. So why isn't this just an illusion, a visualization that they are doing and transporting into Earth's consciousness?
Also, what's with the look of this place, with the blood splatters and the pixelization outside? Is this the AV room? It's so weird looking. And I think we've criticized before early on when they have the telekinesis playtime storyline.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is teaching people bad parenting because it's saying that just let your kid do whatever, even if he's really destructive, just let him let loose. And then I think this is even worse because it's if the world is against you, you can beat the world by Robloxing yourself, and it's like what happens in God, what's that stupid game called with Willem Dafoe? Beyond Two Souls, where William Dafoe kills himself, and they present that as that's the good end for that character, and I was like, this is really really bad. I don't like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
so talk about this. Yeah. Here's the image of them vaporizing themselves, and it's kind of funny that it seems to have happened head first. You think that would be the part that controls the vaporization, so it'd get lower than their head, and then it stops. But whatever, it worked.
How did they know that they can do this?
I don't know. This is unprecedented. They're just I guess we'll die. How did they know that it wouldn't just be exactly what Earth-chan wanted? It's weird.
I from the explanation that's given here, that they vaporize themselves into the molecules that then envelop the whole planet, and it's going all around the world, so it's impossible to attack them directly. And it's kind of like the exchange between when an animal dies and it disperses into all
Earth-chan tells them about how their bodies are becoming the grass, and the antelope eat the grass.
But we eat the
in the circle of life. Yeah.
And that's kind of going full circle into everything's connected. This argument that everything's connected, it does something that's again really stupid. Where Earth-chan is is threatening Mamoru with a knife.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they deflect the knife to fly away. And it
This
hits
part-
the grab.
This is one of those scenes where I can feel the author being like, "Oh, this is going to be so shocking. People are going to be sad and shocked." And I laughed out loud when I saw this because it's so stupid and out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be an illusion anyway. So
Yeah.
what does it matter?
Do illusions real
Yeah.
in this? Like, can you do illusions?
Yeah, can you?
Moreover, this whole like everything is connected. And if you do one bad thing, or if you get one good thing, then a bad thing has to cancel it out. That's kind of like
equivalent exchange, man.
No, that's what Funny Valentine is doing at the end of Steel Ball Run, which in that context worked because he grabbed the power. Having exactly that. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted, if bad things happen to America, they get deflected to somewhere else. But this with Earth.
Hey, that's kind of like something Makima does too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
but this thing that the Earth does with causality, that's completely outside of her skill set. She shouldn't be able to do that.
Supposedly, yeah. She's just pulling out new powers.
I mean, I guess you could say it's just supposed to be an illusion. But
yeah, it is an illusion.
But she's using the illusion to demonstrate that this is what reality is like. And that's not true.
Yeah.
So
she keeps on telling them about all the bad things that'll happen using illusions, and then with no actual proof of why it would happen like that. But then they still present it as like really dramatic. It's a big choice for the main character.
Yeah, she keeps
realistically,
lying.
They'd be like, "Nah, I don't believe that. Nah," and she just keeps doing it.
She keeps lying, and if you have to lie to convince somebody of your standpoint, then your standpoint is probably wrong.
Really a good standpoint.
So nobody's pointing out that bit that she's lying. They just go, no, even if that's true, then I must persevere, and I'm the kind of person who will not give up until I have persevered. And I'm not satisfied with that.
No,
I don't like that the main way to overcome this situation is just perseverance.
Yeah. Well, it's perseverance and killing yourself. That's how you overcome the situation. It's really bad. But we got this visualization of our telekinetic particles are surrounding the world now. It's enveloping the world. It's like our family. It's like our family is giving you a nice hug.
A nice naked hug.
Yeah, and why are they naked? This is one of those things again where it's like it kind of feels like the author was like, I'll do some fan service. But it feels really inappropriate.
Extremely.
Yeah. So
this could potentially awaken something in somebody.
Yeah, they'll become earth sexual. Either way, somehow this works. Somehow they're like, oh, Earth, we were on your side all along because we live on Earth. And then they reform their bodies, and Albert is very touched by this. And I'm looking at this like, this is about the only possible ending they could go with.
Yes.
The storyline of you have to fight the Earth, where you convince the Earth that you're on the same side.
She even pointed out that they can't make her the enemy because they would have to destroy the Earth.
Because they live there. Yeah. Unless they use their powers to terraform Mars, and then the next arc they have to find Mars-chan. He's just like Earth-chan, but with red hair, so she's even more fiery.
Nice.
Anyway, seeing this last page, I was like, oh, I almost forgot about Albert. And during their talk with Earth-chan, she says about how bad it is to have two active Earth children.
And then he shows up.
Yeah, she forgot about Albert. Earthchild kind of forgot.
Stupid.
And yeah, my final comment on this was, now that Doron Dororon is over, this can end. And then after putting down the manga, I went online and I saw an announcement. Earthchild is ending next week.
Finally.
Good. Yeah. Bad manga.
The moment we've been waiting for.
Yeah, it can end. So Hiroshi Shinkai can go play Elden Ring and then hopefully go be an assistant for someone who is better at writing, because
somebody who will fulfill his dream of just drawing naked foursomes.
Exactly. Naked incest foursomes.
Nice.
That'll be his next job.
I'm glad that my prophecy came true. That the fact that he was able to watch the Mandalorian and
that's right.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he was watching those shows because he had more time now that the series is ending. Yeah.
So glad it finally happened.
Yeah. All right.
0 points.
0 points. Final manga.
Final manga.
We got Doron Dororon 36. The finale. A happy, kind world. So yeah, this series has been rushing so much towards the end, and the actual ending chapter counts to that as well. It is also extremely rushed.
Had to. It couldn't go any other way.
Nope. Yeah. So as predicted, they just hit Hanzo in the weak point.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. He does a little bit of a thing. He's like, "Oh, I've been blinded by the old man." So he does a really stupid, like, just shoot in all directions kind of attack.
I'll just attack everything.
Just attack everywhere. And of course, Dora and Kusanagi break through it and they slash him in the weak point. And he's
two hearts, not just one.
And I was like, you know what? They could have done something. They could have said something about how Dora and Kusanagi were able to surpass Hanzo, because Hanzo was subjugating the Mononoke power when he absorbs them. But Dora and Kusanagi work together. It's the power of friendship. But they didn't say anything like that at all. They just, we hit him in the weak point and we win. Yeah, and he's down. R.I.P. Hanzo, you didn't do anything cool in the end. And then Kusanagi just immediately. It was so fast. It's just like, we did it. Yeah. Doron. He's just gone. It's like, wow, that was faster than I expected. They didn't get really to say goodbye at all. He didn't even get to say, Mr. Dora, I don't feel so good. He's just gone. Like, basically, Kusanagi had to return to his home planet.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's it. We get to see Kusanagi on his home planet, and he's being a good guy,
finding more Mononoke who are kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, do you recognize this one?
No, I don't.
No?
No.
So, okay, at the start of Corona, people dug up an old wood print of a yokai that's named Amabie. And it's kind of like a really shoddily drawn mermaid with three legs.
The mermaid that Luffy would draw?
Yes. Pretty much. I think people memed on it. It has 3 legs, it has long hair, and kind of like a beak. And I forgot how you do it, but it basically takes people's sickness away because it's nice. Okay. So that's why it's nice to have this one as an example of Kusanagi making more friends, because usually it's depicted that all Mononoke are evil in this series. And he did have a friend who was kind of nice, but then he got eaten by
the dumb vacuum cleaner nose guy.
Yeah, and now he found Amabie, which everybody nowadays recognizes as the nice Mononoke.
The nice, weird-looking one. Yeah, so both of them on their respective home planets are trying to work hard to make it a happy, kind world. And We also
Mission
get
statement
confirmation
repeated.
that Dora is not going to be hanging out with Gincho anymore. They make sure to get that in towards the end. Because Gincho is like, oh, so are you going to keep hanging out with us, Izanagi-core, now that you don't have Kusanagi with you and you don't have your own spiritual power? You were using his.
No,
So he's like,
I'm
nah, I'm going to quit and join the normal police. Yeah.
Could have done that the whole time.
He could have done that the whole time. Yeah. So farewell, Doron Dororon. You were extremely rushed.
You will not be missed.
And you will not be missed, yeah. Once again, I hope the author can go work for someone who is better at writing, because he can draw some things all right.
I'm not sure if I want that.
Yeah, whatever. If he's under someone else's art direction, I'm sure it would be good. Because the problem I had with this, like a lot of the times, the line work is fine. Like the faces are fine. It's just the actual designs, like the characters' outfits and the Mononoke's looks are usually very bad.
But then you remember the action scenes and they're all shaky cam and it's all garbage.
Don't let this guy do the designs, and don't let this guy do the what do you call it? Is it the paneling where you decide like which panel goes where?
Sure.
Yeah, don't let him do anything relating to the composition of the panel.
Let him make the coffee. Let him go to 7-Eleven, buy snacks.
Yeah, so the author of Earthchild is going to be drawing the fan service shots. And the author of Doron Dororon is going to be getting the coffee. We're putting together a dream team here for the canceled series. Yeah, surely there's. Oh, actually, we often praised some of the writing in Ayashimon, so let him be the lead writer.
Sure.
I think it was already announced. He's already got a new series, doesn't he?
Has he?
Yeah, I think it was already announced. He's working on something that's coming out.
Well, it could mean anything. I think he's mostly going to get busy with the anime adaptation of Jigokuraku, where he will probably oversee stuff.
Yeah. Well, high hopes for that. I like that series. We still haven't finished our reviews.
Oh, that's true.
Someday. Anyway, closing out. Did you have a number for the final Doron?
Oh, yeah. Doron Dororon gets 62 points.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Some praise for being over.
Exactly.
Going on. We got a preview for a one-shot, is it?
Yeah.
What's this?
Some comedy, Fox girl
Fox comedy
stuff.
Looks cute.
What was it called? Just Oinari?
Oinari.
I guess.
I
could do with more comedy about sexy girls.
Yeah, I think.
And the men who are annoyed by them.
That sounds like genre, isn't it?
That sounds like a winning ticket right there.
Well, I wonder what would you say is the prime example of that? Of that genre?
There's a bunch of them.
You think did it start with Urusei Yatsura back in the day, or are there ones that preceded that did this sort of thing too?
That's
magical sexy girl and guy who's annoyed by her.
No, the thing is, the girl doesn't even have to be magical. She just She just needs to have one trait that annoys the guy.
Okay.
But sometimes it's not even annoying the guy.
Uzaki and Nagatoro in that genre as well.
Yes, they're all in that genre. But then there is also, I think Komi-san belongs in that genre, even though she's not annoying the guy. But she has a very specific personality that the whole series is
a normie guy.
Yes,
that's a very broad genre.
But you will find that it's a very specific genre.
This one would be a subgenre then.
Hopefully,
the magical version. Hopefully, it's good. We'll see. What else
Hopefully
do we got?
It's sexy.
Preview.
Yes, the preview of the next series that's going to start. It's Daitokyo Oni Yomeden, which is about a. Have you read the one shot that it's based on?
No.
Okay, so this it's a little bit. It's some time ago, so maybe you weren't paying attention. This is about a guy who kind of has special blood, and it attracts demons and yokai and stuff. And when he was like 6 years old, he was on a family trip where he saved a devil girl from drowning because she's weak to water. And he completely forgot about that because he was only 6. But they hung out during the summer, and then he was like, nah, I have to go back to my home planet, but maybe in 10 years when we meet again, we might as well marry. And she
and she's
was
back
like,
with that
okay,
promise.
yep, I'll get a tattoo of that and put that like right on my stomach or something like that, because she really like that's her whole personality. I want to marry the guy who saved me like 10 years ago.
Like
and she comes back and announces that she wants to marry him, and he's like, I don't remember you. She tries to hang out with him, and he's completely suspicious of her, and then eventually a Froppy attacks and wants to eat him, and then she defends him against the Froppy, and then she falls into the water because the Froppy has water powers. And then he gets her out of the water again. And then he's like, now I remember who you are. And now I'm kind of okay with marrying you, I guess. And then she almost kills the Froppy, but the Froppy gets away with her life, and because she's a cute girl, kind of, just a Froppy girl.
Well, yeah. Well, that
that's
sounds
what's
like
going to happen next week.
Interesting premise. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm sure
it had an amazing first color page. The art in the black and white manga panel art is, I would say, not as good as that first page would suggest, but it's still relatively high. Like, it's better than Doron Dororon, for example.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
It's competent. It's competent. It has a girl in it that's probably going to be very like, ooh, the allure of maybe seeing a boobie.
If Ruridragon comes back, then there's going to be 2 series with girls with horns.
That's true.
Running at the same time.
Anyway, this is probably going
Roboco.
So this is probably going to take the spot of dedicated rom-com where a little bit of action happens, and sometimes you see like the silhouette of a boob.
Yeah. Just put it there, see if it ends up being a better sports manga than Blue Box. Yeah, and here are the author's comments this week. Is there anything you wanted to highlight here?
Yes, a few things. First of all, Jujutsu Kaisen's author Gegek Akutami. Lampshade.
You guys are so nice to not compare the year when the DX Nichiren Sword S went on sale to the year it is in the series.
See, so he's lampshading the inconsistency that Jujutsu Kaisen is set in an era before Kimetsu no Yaiba came out.
Yeah. So why does the katana guy have that?
Yes, he has to.
Oh, we were so nice to not compare it. It's not that we forgot to check the years. We were
so nice happy about the call out that we didn't think about that Jujutsu Kaisen takes place in like 2013 or something.
Why does it take place then? It's weird.
Because that's when it came out.
Is it really?
It never progressed further than...
Wait, Jujutsu Kaisen has been going on for almost 10 years? Seriously?
I might have the wrong numbers. I just I made up the number 2013. It might be later. It might be 2015.
Jujutsu Kaisen has been running in Weekly Shonen Jump since March of 2018. You were way off.
Well, the thing is, I was asleep, so I'm excused.
Yeah. When did the Demon Slayer anime come out?
Pretty
recently. It must have been just in the last 2 years, right? Yeah, the Demon Slayer anime began in September of 2019.
Oh,
so if Jujutsu Kaisen is still in 2018, then that still checks out. That it takes place before there would be any Demon Slayer merch.
Fine. All right.
And also some news. Witch Watch. Kento Shinohara says, I'm taking a week off to feel better. So next time we're going to have not just the traditional Hunter x Hunter and Ruridragon on hiatus. We'll also have Witch Watch on hiatus.
He's in poor health, but somebody else is also in poor health. And that's like Clover's author, Yuki Tabata's wife. And he's making it sound really dramatic. Like, this sounds like she's dying. And he's like, no, I can't do anything. I'm weak. I think he's
Yuki
further
Tabata.
up. Is he?
My wife came down with a fever and cough. She's suffering, and there's nothing I can do. Everyone, please take care of yourselves. Gen2. I'll see you again soon. Aww.
He's the only one in the lineup who even mentions that who acknowledges that Doron Dororon's author Gen Osuka is leaving.
I'll see you again soon. Maybe that's who he's gonna work for as a assistant now.
Considering that he's mentioning him as the only one, maybe that means Gen Osuka used to be his assistant, so that's why he has to call him out.
Did he say
so
anything?
That means he has a place to return to.
Yeah. Return
as
to
the
Black
one
Clover.
Who makes the coffee.
Yeah. Well, Black Clover has some oh no, I'm thinking about a different guy. I was remembering you saying just now that the Earthchild author can draw all the sexy fan service shots. But that's Hideo Shinkai, not Gen Osuka. Right, what do they say now that their stuff is ending?
It's not salty at all. I'm very disappointed that he's just chilling his voiced version of the first 3 chapters.
How disappointing it would be to listen to the voiced version of that. Just listen to the Orekara instead to hear about all that happens.
Yeah. Scroll up. So Samurai's author Yusei Matsui has also something really nice to say. I think he's the most relatable comment in this week, where he says, like, there's nothing better than taking a 20-minute walk in the heat of a boiling August Tokyo night and then coming back home to crack one open. A cold one with a boys.
Yeah, that's right.
That's so relatable. That's aspirational even. That's what makes you want to feel alive. That's what makes you want to go to Tokyo, even when it's hot.
And it's such a normal thing to desire.
Enjoy the little things.
Yeah. It's the that's again, it's the contrast that makes things seem better. It's when you've experienced something that's worse. So you know what's really good.
Right. Like, for instance, the cold that's engulfing my area right now. The summer is over. It's already autumn. Fall, as you might say.
Too soon. Yeah. Meanwhile, here, I'm starting to see ads for Halloween stuff, so that's how I know that summer is coming to an end.
When's Mariah Carey creeping up on you?
The ice has begun to melt, but she is not free yet.
I know you've seen the meme.
Yes, I have. Anyway, is that it for the comments? Or is there anything else you want to highlight? All right.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's it. Then it's time to say goodbye, and we'll see you next week for another.
Relatively soon, I think.
Well, who knows? Because next week, there's a holiday here on Monday, so I will be out. I'll be out working hard, doing the grill thing.
Ooh,
probably not available for recording this. Anyway, we'll reconvene at some point next week and see what's going on with all the characters. We'll
see when it happens.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Until next week.
Our happy and kind world is only just beginning.